Buenos días a todos. Good morning, everyone. Let me welcome you on behalf of Uruguay, the GEF, the International Waters Learning, IW Learn, the UNDP and UNESCO, to this 10th conference, to this 10th GEF International Waters Conference here in Uruguay. Quiero darles la bienvenida a todos en nombre del Gobierno de Uruguay y también de IW Learn, del PNUD, de UNESCO y del GEF en general a esta 10ª conferencia internacional del GEF sobre aguas internacionales. Estamos celebrando 30 años del área focal de aguas internacionales, así como 20 años de esta conferencia en particular que se realiza cada 2 años. We are celebrating 30 years of the focal areas of international waters here at the GEF, as well as 20 years of this IWC conference that is celebrated every 2 years. In fact, it was programmed for the year 2020, but due to the pandemic and other factors, we had to postpone. But it's good to see you all here in such high numbers. Así que esta conferencia estaba prevista para el año 2020 y debido a la pandemia y otros factores debimos postergarla, así que estamos muy contentos de verlos a todos aquí tan numerosos. Podrían preguntarse por qué el Uruguay es sede. Y en el 2018, en la última conferencia, Uruguay ofreció su sede, pero son otros factores los que lo confirman. Los recursos acuáticos son esenciales para todos los países, pero en especial también para el Uruguay. Y Uruguay lo reconoce, le asigna alta importancia política, porque han marcado su historia. El río Uruguay es frontera y es unión con Argentina. También compartimos recursos acuáticos con el Brasil, como la laguna Merín, y el Uruguay es uno de los 4 países que comparten el acuífero guaraní. Todos estos cuerpos de agua han sido objeto de proyectos del GEF. Y si miramos la parte oceánica, que se aprecia muy bien desde aquí, desde Punta del Este, la superficie oceánica del Uruguay es mucho más grande que su superficie terrestre. Así que es otro factor que lo marca. I was saying that aquatic resources are very important to all the world, but they are particularly important here in Uruguay. They are assigned high political importance, and they have been recognized throughout history. The Uruguay River is a border, but also a union with Argentina. Uruguay shares water resources with Brazil, the Laguna Merim in particular. The River Plate is another body of water that's shared with Argentina, and it is one of the 4 countries that share the Guarani aquifer. And if you look at it from an ocean point of view, the ocean surface of Uruguay is much larger than its land surface. Therefore, it is highly important. And this political importance is marked by the presence today of many of our highest national authorities. And I want to highlight the presence of Mr. Omar Paganini, our Minister for Foreign Affairs, of Mr. Robert Bouvier, our Minister of Environment, and his Secretary, Mr. Gerardo Amarilla. I thank you all for being here. Les agradezco también a los ministros Omar Paganini de Relaciones Exteriores, al ministro Bouvier de Ambiente y a su subsecretario Gerardo Amarilla por acompañarnos en esta ocasión, destacando así la relevancia política que tiene para el Uruguay el tema de aguas internacionales. Ahora vamos a pasar a ver una breve película que es la que nos marca y nos describe la historia del área focal de aguas internacionales en el contexto del Fondo para el Medio Ambiente Mundial.
Water is best, and gold, like a blazing fire in the night, stands out supreme of all lordly wealth. The words of the ancient Greek poet Pindar, penned 2,500 years ago, still echo the truth today. Water is a vital resource, touching all aspects of life. It is the universal force that shapes our world and sustains lives, economies, and ecosystems. Water knows no borders. Over 66 large marine ecosystems, more than 300 transboundary watersheds, and 360 aquifers cross national boundaries. Conserving these ecosystems and ensuring they are managed sustainably to face increasing and unprecedented threats requires that countries coordinate actions to secure a healthy environment for present and future generations. The Global Environment Facility GEF has led this effort for the past 30 years through the unique mandate of the International Waters Focal Area to support transboundary cooperation in shared marine and freshwater ecosystems.
From an international governance perspective, it's been the real shaker and mover when it comes to trying to accomplish things and improve the way international waters are managed and governed.
The GEF is the largest funding mechanism for multi-country international waters projects, supporting nations in developing agreements, frameworks, and innovative approaches for sustainable management of their shared water resources and ecosystems. To date, GEF IW has funded over 470 international water projects across 157 countries, with grants exceeding $3 billion and co-financing reaching almost $20 billion.
I would see GEF as a mechanism bringing people together, bringing experts together, bringing governments together also.
It's GEF's job to help countries sign political and legal agreements. It's their job to help you pass national laws. It's up to the governments to develop regulatory programs with real enforcement, provide incentives for community-based action, and we can help to spur innovative investments to help communities. We have to work nationally, but we also can't forget about working locally.
This collective effort of the GEF International Waters community is essential for ensuring the health of our shared waters and securing a sustainable future for all.
There is not only an awareness being raised, but also impact being felt by individuals.
The International Waters Conference IWC is the key event for the GEF IW portfolio. It brings together the projects and their stakeholders, practitioners, policymakers, academia, civil society, and the private sector to share knowledge and experiences, discuss challenges and solutions, and showcase good practices. Since its inception in 2000, IWC, powered by IW Learn, has traveled the world. 2000, Budapest, Hungary. 2002, Dalian, China. 2005, Salvador, Brazil. 2007, Cape Town, South Africa. 2009, Cairns, Australia. 2011, Dubrovnik, Croatia. 2013, Bridgetown, Barbados. 2016, Negombo, Sri Lanka. 2018, Marrakesh, Morocco, and this year, in 2024, Punta del Este, Uruguay, for the 10th edition of IWC. In 2000, the first International Waters Conference in Budapest sparked a global dialogue on transboundary cooperation for managing shared water resources enabled by GEF, and became the inaugural event of a series to follow. In 2002, in Dalian, China, the focus expanded to regional cooperation and best practices. In 2005, IWC3 in Salvador, Brazil, brought public participation and innovative financing to the spotlight, while in 2007, IWC4 in Cape Town introduced interactive learning methods that deepened engagement.
It was wonderful to sit around tables and speak to people who probably ordinarily wouldn't have had a chance to be at the podium, interact with them.
In 2009, at IWC5 in Cairns, Australia, the spotlight turned to gender issues, acknowledging the essential role women play in water management. At the same time, voices grew louder about the impacts of climate change.
The Australian government has supported the GEF since its inception in 1991 to fund practical programs that shape policy reform in developing countries to tackle climate change, biodiversity loss, ozone depletion, contamination, persistent organic pollutants, and degradation of land and transboundary water systems.
Because a lot of things have changed. The climate has changed. And I suppose we're looking at solutions to try to find how we can rectify what has been done.
The thing we can do is to take the pressure off the coral reefs. We can improve their resilience and their ability to survive, perhaps not unscathed, but to survive the extreme pressures of rising sea temperatures and falling pH.
Over the years, each IWC built on the lessons of the past, from celebrating GEF's milestones in Dubrovnik, Croatia in 2011, to addressing the unique challenges of small island developing states in Bridgetown, Barbados in 2013.
We don't want the way of fishing of the big company. They must change their way of fishing.
And discussions needs to take place, and before they can finalize anything, and there must be a way forward.
Our common shared resource is the Caribbean Sea, and any activity that takes place on land is going to affect our shared waters very, very quickly.
IWC continued to evolve, scaling up efforts in Negombo, Sri Lanka in 2016.
Peoples and countries are linked not only by rivers, seas, and oceans, but they also share a common dependence on the natural resources they provide. These areas in return can only support development and the creation of wealth across the globe if they are utilized and managed sustainably.
The global commons always suffer from two tragedies. One is the tragedy of commons, another is tragedy of horizon. And water, in all its form, is no exception to it. I want to continue to stand ready to support the work of IWLAN, which could be a very, very powerful instrument for the entire globe to achieve the SDGs.
The last time we met was in Marrakesh, Morocco in 2018, exploring new technologies and models for cooperation.
The GEF is gathering here in Morocco to celebrate its transboundary portfolio that addresses all the different stresses in marine and freshwater ecosystems.
I ask all of you, have the courage to change when you feel change is necessary. Thank you very much for being different.
I think that the conclusion is that the International Focal Areas is doing just great.
Reconvening after 6 years, the 10th edition of the International Waters Conference in Punta del Este, hosted by the government of Uruguay, celebrates over 3 decades of GEF International Waters achievements and reflects on the journey that has brought us here. Centered on the theme, Transformative Actions and Impacts for the Water and Ocean SDGs, the GEF IW response to the global challenge, IWC10 gathers nearly 400 participants to learn from each other, share experiences, exchange ideas, and plan for the future of our shared freshwater and marine ecosystems. Welcome to IWC10.
Thank you very much. Congratulations to the producers of that film that have set the stage for this week. And to initiate these proceedings, let me invite and offer the floor to our Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Omar Paganini.
Muy buenos días, señor Ministro de Ambiente, Robert Bouvier, señora Prosecretaria de la Presidencia, doctora Mariana Cabrera, señor subsecretario de Ambiente Gerardo Amarilla, señor Frederick Bolz, director de programas del GEF, señor Ernesto Fernández Polsuch, representante de la UNESCO en Uruguay, autoridades del cuerpo diplomático presentes, autoridades de organismos internacionales, autoridades nacionales, autoridades departamentales, señoras y señores. Es un honor para mí estar hoy aquí en la apertura de la 10ª Conferencia Bienal de Aguas Internacionales del GEF, con la particularidad de que se cumplen 30 años del Programa de Aguas Internacionales del Fondo y que la organización ha escogido a Uruguay en este magnífico lugar donde el Río de la Plata se une con el Océano Atlántico para celebrar este significativo aniversario. Bienvenidos a Punta del Este, bienvenidos al Uruguay, un país que hace del cuidado del medio ambiente y del desarrollo sostenible una política de Estado. Además de las autoridades, también le damos la bienvenida especial a todos los directores de proyectos de aguas de todos los continentes y a todos los representantes nacionales. Muchas gracias por lo que hacen y muchas gracias por compartir su conocimiento con nosotros en esta jornada. El GEF ha demostrado ser un programa de enorme relevancia para el estudio y conocimiento de cuencas, acuíferos y recursos marinos. Gracias a este conocimiento generado, se ha establecido y fomentado la cooperación entre los países a lo largo de los años. Este programa posee una vinculación histórica con el Uruguay y sus proyectos técnicos han contribuido a la firma de importantes acuerdos internacionales, como el del Acuerdo sobre el Acuífero Guaraní, cuya primera reunión intergubernamental celebraremos en el día de hoy aquí en el marco de esta bienal. Esta 10ª conferencia nos invita a intercambiar y reflexionar sobre la gestión y el cuidado del agua, un recurso insustituible, necesario para la vida y el equilibrio de los ecosistemas. Los recursos hídricos en el mundo se encuentran bajo una creciente presión y los estados se enfrentan al desafío de, por ejemplo, producir más alimentos o energía, mejorando al mismo tiempo las condiciones del agua, en un contexto de variabilidad y cambio climático. El desafío es doble, interno y externo, ya que muchos recursos son compartidos. Por ello, desde hace décadas el Uruguay trabaja desde la política exterior con sus vecinos para enfrentar estos desafíos y generar las herramientas que garanticen la conservación del recurso, en sintonía con el desarrollo económico y social de nuestros pueblos. Ya en 1969, con los países de la región, el Tratado de la Cuenca del Plata. Luego, en 1973, con Argentina, con el Tratado del Río de la Plata y su Frente Marítimo. En 1975, el Estatuto del Río Uruguay. Y en el 77, con Brasil, el Tratado de la Cuenca de la Laguna Merín. Fueron acuerdos innovadores para su época y que tempranamente abordaron asuntos como la gobernanza compartida de los ríos y de los espacios marítimos, la cooperación técnica, la solución de controversias, la protección ambiental y el desarrollo sostenible. Estos acuerdos nos han permitido contar con ámbitos formales y mecanismos de trabajo conjuntos de manera ininterrumpida, y un ejemplo de ello es que esta semana también celebraremos aquí la reunión número 565 del Comité de la Cuenca del Plata, que integramos junto con Argentina, Bolivia, Brasil y Paraguay. Esta conferencia bienal se desarrolla bajo el lema Acciones e impactos transformadores para los objetivos de desarrollo sostenible del agua y los océanos. Uruguay ha asumido un compromiso en la materia y trabaja de manera interinstitucional para cumplir con estos objetivos. Uruguay fue el primer país en el mundo en reconocer constitucionalmente el derecho humano al agua y al saneamiento, y ha tenido una destacada participación internacional en los ámbitos donde este derecho es tratado. El país participa también en otros ámbitos internacionales en materia de aguas y océanos, como la Comisión Oceanográfica Intergubernamental, la OMI, la FAO, el Programa Hidrológico Intergubernamental de la UNESCO, y ha establecido un centro regional para la gestión de aguas subterráneas. Actualmente, todas nuestras cuencas transfronterizas se encuentran cubiertas por acuerdos de cooperación, con organizaciones de gobernanza y cuentan con proyectos técnicos para conocimiento y gestión. Y como mencionaba anteriormente, hoy celebraremos la primera reunión sobre el acuífero Guaraní. En materia oceánica, la triple crisis que enfrenta nuestro planeta amenaza gravemente los ecosistemas marinos. Uruguay es consciente de la imperiosa necesidad de trabajar en la sostenibilidad marina, promoviendo acciones de conservación fomentando la economía azul con un enfoque regional. Nuestro país es parte de la Convención de Naciones Unidas para el Derecho del Mar desde su entrada en vigor y recientemente ha suscrito la Convención sobre el Derecho al Mar relativo a la conservación y el uso sostenible de la diversidad biológica marina en las zonas situadas fuera de la jurisdicción nacional, el BBNJ por su sigla en inglés, BBNJ, acuerdo que se encuentra en el Parlamento para su ratificación. Asimismo, reconocemos la urgencia de abordar la contaminación por plásticos, la cual es parte de la triple crisis planetaria. Y en ese sentido alentamos la exitosa conclusión de las negociaciones del Comité Intergubernamental de Negociación para la elaboración de un instrumento internacional jurídicamente vinculante sobre la contaminación por plásticos, incluso en el medio marino. Abogamos por la adopción de un tratado ambicioso que contenga obligaciones a largo plazo a lo largo de todo el ciclo de vida de los plásticos. A nivel regional, trabajamos con Argentina en la Comisión Técnica Mixta del Frente Marítimo y en el marco de la Bienal y esta Semana Mundial del Agua mantendremos un mecanismo de diálogo oceánico bilateral, cuya segunda instancia tendrá lugar en la tarde de hoy. Asimismo, impulsamos con Argentina y Brasil un proyecto técnico que buscará fomentar la cooperación transfronteriza en materia de planificación espacial marina, áreas marinas protegidas, evaluación de grandes ecosistemas, entre otros. Para Uruguay, contar con fuentes adecuadas de financiamiento, cooperación y asistencia técnica es un elemento central para poder continuar con estos avances de la gestión sostenible y cooperativa de los recursos hídricos y marinos, por la importancia que tienen las aguas transfronterizas en el mundo y por lo relevante y ejemplar que es esto para nuestro país. También para nuestros vecinos del Mercosur y la Cuenca del Plata. Celebramos entonces el apoyo continuo del GEF y de las demás agencias hoy aquí presentes en todo este esfuerzo y les deseamos el mayor de los éxitos a todos ustedes en esta Semana Mundial del Agua en Uruguay. Muchísimas gracias.
Muchas gracias, ministro. Y ahora invito a tomar la palabra al ministro de Ambiente, señor Robert Bouvier.
Muy buenos días. Es un gran honor para mí darle la bienvenida a Uruguay en nombre del Gobierno y del Ministerio de Ambiente a esta 10ª Conferencia Bienal sobre Aguas Internacionales del Fondo para Medio Ambiente Mundial. Hoy nos encontramos en Punta del Este para celebrar este importante hito para todos los que trabajamos en la protección y gestión de los recursos hídricos a nivel global. Quiero comenzar saludando y agradeciendo especialmente la presencia de autoridades que nos acompañan. Señor Ministro Paganini, señora Prosecretaria de Presidencia Mariana Cabrera, señor Subsecretario Amarilla, y a todo el programa de GEF, Freddy Bolt, al representante residente del PNUD, el señor Alfonso Fernández, al director de oficina UNESCO Montevideo, el señor Ernesto Fernández, y al ministro Paganini nuevamente. Agradezco también a las instituciones involucradas en la organización de este evento, a la red de cursos de intercambio de aprendizaje sobre aguas internacionales, del Fondo para el Medio Ambiente Mundial, en particular el Programa de Naciones Unidas para el Desarrollo, al Programa de Naciones Unidas para el Medio Ambiente y a la Comisión Oceanográfica Intergubernamental de UNESCO, y a todos los socios que han trabajado para hacer de esta conferencia un éxito. Asimismo, entiendo un especial agradecimiento a la Cancillería uruguaya y al equipo del Ministerio de Ambiente por su esfuerzo y dedicación. Sus contribuciones y la colaboración de sus respectivas instituciones son fundamentales para el éxito de esta conferencia y para los proyectos que impulsamos. Nos encontramos hoy en un contexto muy especial. La Conferencia de Aguas Internacionales regresa después de 6 años y Uruguay tiene el privilegio de ser el país anfitrión de esta 10ª edición, bajo el tema Acciones e impactos transformadores para los objetivos de desarrollo sostenible sobre agua y océanos. Este tema refleja el compromiso del GEF y de todos nosotros con la sensibilidad de los ecosistemas hídricos, no solo como fuente de vida, sino también como base fundamental para el desarrollo de las comunidades que dependen de ellos. Uruguay es un país profundamente comprometido con la protección de sus recursos hídricos y marinos. Nuestro espacio marítimo, ubicado en el Atlántico Sur Occidental, es una de las áreas más biodiversas y productivas del Océano Atlántico. Sin embargo, enfrenta presiones crecientes debido a la contaminación terrestre, las especies exóticas invasoras y las prácticas pesqueras no sostenibles, entre otros desafíos. Para enfrentar estos retos, desde el Ministerio de Ambiente, en conjunto con otras instituciones claves, estamos avanzando en procesos de planificación especial marina, con base en la mejor información disponible. En el marco de la iniciativa Uruguay Azul 2030, nos comprometimos a aumentar significativamente la superficie de áreas marinas protegidas. Un hito importante en este esfuerzo ha sido la reciente creación del Parque Nacional Isla de Lobos y su entorno sumergido, la primera área protegida completamente oceánica de nuestro país. Continuamos avanzando con las metas del marco global de biodiversidad de CUNY-Montreal, buscando avanzar un 30% de nuestro espacio marino protegido para el 2030, implementando una estrategia aprobada en diciembre de 2022. Esta estrategia, que identifica una red de sitios representativos de la biodiversidad marina del Uruguay, establece su creación mediante procesos participativos con actores claves a nivel nacional y regional y se basa en la mejor ciencia disponible. Comprometido con la salud de nuestro océano y reconociendo un vínculo entre la contaminación terrestre y su impacto a nivel marino, Uruguay implementa políticas sólidas a nivel terrestre, enfocadas en el cierre de vertederos a cielo abierto y la mejora del saneamiento en localidades costeras, junto con el reciente lanzamiento del Plan de Economía Circular. En cuanto a la cooperación regional, continuamos trabajando con Brasil y Argentina en proyectos transfronterizos para la protección de nuestros ecosistemas marinos. A nivel internacional, Uruguay es signatario del Tratado de Protección de la Biodiversidad fuera de aguas jurisdiccionales y del Marco Global de Biodiversidad, reafirmando así nuestro compromiso con la protección de los océanos a nivel global. También estamos avanzando en la gestión sostenible de los recursos hídricos compartidos con Argentina, Paraguay, Brasil, Bolivia y Uruguay. Un ejemplo de cooperación internacional es el trabajo realizado en el Comité Intergubernamental Coordinado de los Países de la Cuenca del Plata, a través del proyecto del Fondo para el Medio Ambiente Mundial e implementación del Programa de Acción Estratégico de la Cuenca del Plata. Uno de los productos previstos es la creación de un observatorio hidroambiental de la Cuenca del Plata. Esta herramienta facilitará la coordinación transfronteriza en acciones de seguridad hídrica y permitirá un manejo integrado de los recursos. Con el monitoreo en tiempo real de la calidad y cantidad de agua en el río Uruguay y en el río de la Plata, se podrán definir acciones y herramientas de mitigación necesarias. Actualmente, el proyecto está en la fase de elaboración de su documento para la ejecución. De manera paralela, continuamos trabajando con el sistema de soporte a la toma de decisiones, una herramienta esencial en la Cuenca del Plata para mejorar la toma de decisiones basada en evidencia. También hemos comenzado el proyecto Promoviendo la Seguridad Hídrica en la Cuenca del Plata, financiado por el BID, con el objetivo de enfrentar los retos de las sequías y fortalecer las cadenas de valor regionales. Además, se inició el proyecto de gestión binacional e integrada de los recursos hídricos en la cuenca Laguna Merín y lagunas costeras, con el fin de fortalecer las capacidades del sector público y privado en Brasil y Uruguay para la gestión conjunta e integrada de estos recursos. En el ámbito del sistema acuífero guaraní, uno de los reservorios de agua dulce más importantes del mundo, estamos avanzando en el proyecto de implementación del Programa de Acción Estratégica, que busca consolidar la cooperación transfronteriza entre los países del sistema acuífero guaraní, controlar la calidad y cantidad de sus aguas y fomentar la igualdad de género en su gestión. Este proyecto incluye comités técnicos para el monitoreo y la difusión de información. Ya hemos logrado avances significativos en la instalación de estaciones de monitoreo a nivel nacional, en coordinación con Brasil y Argentina, que proporcionarán datos telemétricos en tiempo real. Antes de finalizar, quisiera destacar el rol fundamental que ha jugado el Fondo para el Medio Ambiente Mundial en la implementación y catalización de políticas. El apoyo del GEF no solo ha permitido la ejecución de proyectos claves, sino que también ha facilitado la cooperación entre naciones y actores locales. En beneficio del medio ambiente global, para Uruguay, esta colaboración ha sido de un valor incalculable. Ha fortalecido nuestras capacidades técnicas de gestión y nos ha permitido avanzar con mayor rapidez hacia un desarrollo sostenible basado en la conservación de nuestros recursos naturales. Confiamos en que el GEF seguirá siendo un socio clave en el futuro, apoyándonos en los desafíos que aún tenemos por delante y trabajando juntos para asegurar que nuestras acciones generen un impacto duradero para las gestiones venideras. A lo largo de los próximos días, tendremos la oportunidad de intercambiar experiencias, aprender de los éxitos y desafíos de diferentes proyectos y generar nuevas ideas para el futuro. Esta conferencia ofrecerá una plataforma única para discutir las mejores prácticas y explorar soluciones innovadoras y, sobre todo, reforzar nuestras alianzas. Los más de 300 participantes que nos acompañan, representando cerca de 100 proyectos activos del Fondo en 80 países, son testimonio del compromiso global con la preservación de nuestros ecosistemas hídricos. Me gustaría subrayar también la gran organización de esta conferencia, no solo por la calidad de participantes e instituciones representadas, sino por el espacio que se ha creado para el aprendizaje interactivo, el intercambio de conocimientos y la innovación. Es una oportunidad única para conocer enfoques novedosos y catalizadores de cambio y explorar cómo estos pueden replicar en otras regiones del mundo. En nombre de Uruguay, les deseo a todos un evento fructífero y enriquecedor. Estoy convencido que las discusiones y los intercambios que tendrán lugar en esta conferencia generarán impactos positivos que trascenderán este espacio y se traducirán en acciones concretas en cada uno de nuestros países. Es un privilegio para nosotros ser el escenario de este encuentro y confiamos en que se lleven de Uruguay experiencias valiosas y alianzas fortalecidas. Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much, Minister. And now let me invite to take the floor Mr. Frederick Bolz, Manager of Programs of the GEF Secretariat.
Thank you. Thanks very much. Sorry, too much equipment. Good morning, everyone. Distinguidos señores ministros y representantes de nuestro país anfitrión, la República del Uruguay, destacados representantes de todos los proyectos en aguas internacional, muy buenos días. On behalf of the Global Environment Facility, the GEF, I'm honored to join our generous hosts, the government of Uruguay, in welcoming you to the 10th International Waters Conference. Permit me to share our sincere gratitude on behalf of the GEF with the government of Uruguay, the representatives that have joined us today. Thank you so much for joining us and for hosting us in this spectacular setting in beautiful Punta del Este. Moreover, permit me to salute and welcome all of you to join me in celebrating the leadership of Uruguay on water, the first country to recognize the human right to water in its constitution. Fantastic. Amazing. I was taking notes as you were speaking, ministers, just to recognize that incredible leadership. And a country that's committed to transboundary water cooperation, such as on the Rio Plata, the Guarani Aquifer, and in important marine protected areas such as the Isla de Lobos. We're also deeply appreciative of the hard work of the conference organizers, IWLearn, UNDP, UNEP, and UNESCO IOC, who've helped to bring us all together for an engaging and productive conference. And many thanks indeed to CAF for hosting us in Montevideo for the pre-conference workshops over the weekend. Thank you all, dear partners. And we at the GEF would like to sincerely thank all of you for joining us here today. The success of the International Waters Program and everything that the Global Environment Facility does is thanks to all of you, to government partners, agencies, project managers, civil society organizations, private sector partners, indigenous peoples and local communities across this beautiful blue planet. Working and learning together, we are one powerful international waters community. Earlier this month, on September 3rd, I joined the Global Environment Facility as manager of the programming division, the engine of the GEF, where we work with all of you to strategically deploy the GEF Trust Fund and other resources supporting efforts to conserve biodiversity, mitigate climate change, combat land degradation, reduce chemical and waste pollutants, and steward the vital freshwater and marine resources that sustain our planet. I'm joined here today by exceptionally capable and dedicated colleagues from the International Waters Program and across the GEF who've shared with me their excitement about IWC10. The International Waters Conference, as you all know far better than I, is a very special occasion for the GEF and for all of us, as it is our opportunity to come together as a community, to share, to listen, to learn, to be inspired, and to push ourselves to innovate and to reach farther to address our common challenges. During this 10th IWC, we should take a moment to recognize what all of you have accomplished with the GEF over the past 30 years. From strengthening the conservation of large marine ecosystems like the Patagonian shelf, to improving the stewardship of vital transboundary aquifer systems across the Amazon, we're inspired by the exemplary work of countries in this region and across the world who are cooperating to manage complex, changing ecosystems and critical natural resources essential to our healthy planet and to the health of all species residing upon it, including, of course, Homo sapiens. To date, as the video noted before, the GEF International's water program has mobilized over $3 billion in grants and $19 billion in co-financing to advance nearly 500 ocean and transboundary water projects across 157 countries. These projects support the improved management of 60 transboundary rivers, 16 shared lake basins, and 14 transnational aquifers vital to freshwater security. And in the oceans realm, our work supports the conservation of 22 large marine ecosystems in close partnership with over 110 countries. That scale is phenomenal, and it's incredible what you all have achieved in the past 30 years with the GEF, hand in hand with the GEF, and we have so much more to do. Hearty congratulations and sincere thanks to all of you for this great progress. I encourage all of us to reach higher, to set our ambitions even higher, as carefully stewarding and conserving our blue planet for future generations is our most important responsibility. I wish you a stimulating and highly productive week of learning and exchange. I look forward to sharing IWC10 with you. Muchísimas gracias y que les disfruten de IWC10. Muchísimas gracias. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Fred. Let me now invite the resident representative of UNDP, Mr. Alfonso Fernandez de Castro, to take the floor.
Muy buenos días a todos y a todas. Es un verdadero placer poder estar hoy aquí con todos ustedes y con una sala totalmente llena, lo que muestra el compromiso con esta temática fundamental. En primer lugar, me gustaría extender mis saludos al señor canciller, Omar Paganini, al ministro de Ambiente, Robert Bouvier, al viceministro Gerardo Amarilla y también a la prosecretaria, la doctora Mariana Cabrera. La adecuada gestión y la conservación de los océanos, las cuencas hidrográficas, los cuerpos de agua, tanto de aguas superficiales como aguas submarinas, son fundamentales para nuestro desarrollo. Como ustedes perfectamente saben, solo los océanos representan casi 3/4 partes de lo que es la superficie terrestre y nos proporciona recursos alimentarios, medicinas, biocombustibles y otros bienes. Son además el principal sumidero de carbono del planeta y proporciona medios de vida, no solo desde lo que es la pesquería, sino también desde otros trabajos, como puede ser el turismo, donde más del 80% se da en las zonas costeras. Constituyen además sus ecosistemas mecanismos de defensa para amortiguar y apaciguar los daños causados por eventos climáticos, como pueden ser las tormentas. Pero nos enfrentamos a una situación de urgencia. Por un lado, la contaminación. Solo en el caso de la contaminación marítima, en el 2021 se estimaba que 17 millones de toneladas métricas contaminan nuestros océanos y para el 2040 se espera que esto se haya multiplicado por 2 o por 3. Nos enfrentamos a una importante acidificación de los océanos que está teniendo impactos, en algunos casos irreversibles, sobre la vida marina y sobre las cadenas de suministro. Y nos enfrentamos también a la sobreexplotación. En este contexto se hace preciso, desde la urgencia, por un lado un llamado a la acción, por otro lado seguir fortaleciendo las alianzas y por último ampliar las experiencias y el conocimiento. Y es por ello que quiero celebrar la realización de la 10ª conferencia del GEF de Aguas Internacionales en Uruguay, ya que trabaja hacia el cumplimiento de estos 3 objetivos. Con respecto a la gestión de aguas internacionales, quiero resaltar su relevancia y remarcar que cuando nos referimos a los océanos, a las cuencas hidrográficas, a cualquier otro ecosistema transfronterizo, se caracteriza que trasciende, las fronteras administrativas de cada país. Es necesario, por un lado, buscar soluciones locales, pero por otro lado, también llegar a acuerdos y soluciones regionales y globales. Y creo que en esta doble confluencia, la mirada local para poder solucionar los problemas locales, pero la capacidad de aunar y de una mirada mucho más sistémica, donde se dan estos cuerpos de agua más allá de las fronteras administrativas, lo que permite llegar a soluciones que puedan ser duraderas y que tengan impacto. La adecuada gestión del agua dulce y de los recursos marítimos es clave para un futuro sostenible, para aliviar la pobreza y para mejorar la calidad de vida. Al igual que el International Waters Learn del GEF, en el PNUD hacemos hincapié en el intercambio de experiencias y en las mejores prácticas a nivel global para su replicación y su ampliación. Desde el PNUD trabajamos junto con el GEF y otros actores internacionales y, por supuesto, con los países que lideran sus procesos de desarrollo desde 1991 con más de 150 proyectos en todo el mundo. Se trata de un esfuerzo compartido que nos ha permitido ofrecer resultados tangibles a personas en más de 140 países, incluyendo el manejo y la gestión sostenible de los ecosistemas, así como la facilitación de procesos de gobernanza y cooperación transfronteriza para trabajar a través de los 17 Objetivos de Desarrollo Sostenible. En el caso de Uruguay, desde nuestra oficina del PNUD Uruguay, tenemos una larga trayectoria de trabajo con el GEF, con el país, en proyectos también transnacionales. Los principales resultados de estos proyectos serán presentados más adelante junto a otras iniciativas de aguas internacionales de la región por varios de los colegas del PNUD que están hoy aquí. En línea con lo anterior, un tema que estimamos extremadamente central y relevante es la economía azul. De cara al futuro, la economía azul se convierte en una oportunidad cada vez más importante para todos nosotros. Un enfoque transformador que equilibra el crecimiento económico con la sostenibilidad de los recursos dulces y de los océanos. Estamos convencidos que continuar con el apoyo del GEF en intervenciones de aguas internacionales que promueven políticas interseccionales es clave tanto a nivel regional como global para todos los países y para que desde los países seamos capaces de obtener las metas de desarrollo. En cuanto a los resultados de la conferencia, espero que no solo generen acuerdos y estrategias conjuntas que contribuyan a la necesidad y a la transformación de nuestra relación con la naturaleza, sino que también, a través de estos proyectos internacionales, se puedan aprovechar experiencias y buenas prácticas a otras intervenciones, se puedan seguir creando y compartiendo capacidades y, en general, fomentando esta excelente comunidad que hoy se reúne aquí. Agradezco nuevamente la invitación para poder participar en este espacio de apertura al proyecto IW Learn por el gran trabajo y el arduo esfuerzo llevado a cabo de todos estos años. Quiero resaltar que para el PNUD, el Programa de Naciones Unidas para el Desarrollo, es siempre una prioridad poder trabajar con nuestros socios en desarrollo, los países, poder trabajar junto con el GEF en iniciativas de aguas internacionales para poder seguir transformando la vida de las personas sin dejar a nadie atrás. Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias. Permíteme ofrecer la palabra ahora al señor Ernesto Fernández, director de UNESCO Montevideo.
Buenos días a todas y todos. Muchas gracias por estar hoy acá. Ante todo, agradecer a representantes del Gobierno uruguayo, señores ministros, señora prosecretaria, señores viceministros. Voy a ser más corto en el protocolo, así puedo usar los 5 minutos, pero también saludar especialmente a las y los colegas del Global Environmental Facility y de Naciones Unidas en general aquí presentes, y a todas y todos los participantes. I was asked to give my speech in English, so I will switch. When we were discussing what is the role of UNESCO vis-a-vis international waters, I was thinking it got me back to the founding ideas of UNESCO, which the mission is about building peace in the minds of men and women through education, culture, and science. That mission is very clearly reflected in the concept of international waters. I cannot feel more at home than in a conference that deals with this subject in terms of building peace in the minds of the people. International waters in the region, in Latin America and the Caribbean, 58 transnational river basins, at least, and lake basins, 3 out of the 12 most biggest transboundary aquifers, a marine corridor with 5 marine World Heritage sites. Another consideration is about the cultural component of the marine areas and the international waters. To the extent that the convention, the 2001 convention on this on underwater cultural heritage is closely related to the Convention on the Rights of the Ocean that was just mentioned. So international waters are everywhere in the region, are fundamental for sustainable development, in particular, at least for 4 of the Sustainable Development Goals, for the 6, the water goal, the goal on inequalities, this is what we're going to discuss here these days, the goal on climate change, the goal on life on the water. So the global agenda that has built these 17 Sustainable Development Goals has also opened a clear place for science and for knowledge in terms of addressing these goals. And this is the other component of this meeting that makes it so interesting for us. The fact that we are here sharing and building knowledge for giving the real power, the power of knowledge to the decision makers we have here present about the shared waters. This in the framework of the International Ocean Decade, the Ocean Sciences Decade, and towards the upcoming UN Ocean Conference that will be hosted by France and Costa Rica in June next year. So this is not only part of the 10 conferences we've been seeing, the video we've been hearing, but this is part of a big and very important process at the global level. To the point that yesterday, as many of you might know, the Pact for the Future was approved in New York just before the General Assembly. And there are at least 2 actions. Let me better say, there are 12 actions on sustainable development and financing in this part. There are 15 on international peace and security. There are 6 on science, technology, and innovation. There are 4 on digital cooperation, or 8 rather. I can't read my own writings, sorry. 4 on youth and future, and 19 on transforming governance. In all of these 47 actions that the Pact of the Future is bringing forward, there are tasks for us in this meeting today. Action 10 talks directly about accelerating our efforts to restore, protect, conserve, and sustainably use the environment. Action 29 talks about asks us to scale up the means of implementation to developing countries to strengthen their science, technology, and innovation capacities, ensure that it contributes to the efforts to eradicate poverty in all its forms and dimensions, hunger, to reduce inequalities, in addition to areas such as food security and nutrition, health, education, social protection, water and sanitation, energy, climate, and environment. So we cannot think about this conference only as a follow-up to our projects, of our programs. We need to indeed look at our successes, but we hopefully will think in terms of the global picture we're painting this whole week here in Punta del Este. Just on another, in terms of the relationship more practical of UNESCO, here we are big partners with the Uruguayan government. It has been mentioned, the project of the aquifer Guarani, the Guarani aquifer. It's for us. I hope you will visit our stand with the aquifer. We are making the invisible visible with our stand outside. And really, our key objective here is again to bring the scientific knowledge to decision making, in this case on the aquifer. And for us, we look forward to continue integrating, to continue working closely with GEF to building a closer relationship, a full participation perhaps in GEF, to be able to contribute our networks, our ample networks, not only the IOC, the Intergovernmental Oceanographic Commission that is co-organizing this event, but also through the other areas, through the Intergovernmental Hydrological Program, through the culture part. Again, many World Heritage sites are marine sites. We need to have a dialogue between culture and water. And we need to, as we were saying earlier this year in the Diálogos del Futuro, in the future dialogues that we have had here in Uruguay, and we need to change in the country and in the world the culture of the water. And this, for us, was one of the big consequences of the last water crisis here in Uruguay, where the water stress was located around the area of Montevideo, and showed that despite having big resources in the north, you can have a crisis in the south if you don't have a culture that looks at water as a key resource. So, having said that, I thank you very, very much for the presence here. I'm amazed by how far people have come from. I've seen stands from all over the world, and I thank you so much that you've made it here, and wish you all a very good workshop. Thank you.
Muchas gracias, Ernesto. Y con esto concluimos la sesión de apertura, agradeciendo a todos los oradores por su presencia, por sus palabras, y a la doctora Cabrera, que está representando a la Presidencia de la República, prosecretaria. Bienvenida y gracias por estar aquí y tomarse el tiempo necesario. All right, let us then move on to the next session, which will give us an overview of GEF, International Waters Focal Area. And for that, I invite Andrew Hume to lead this session. Andrew, you have the floor.
Good morning, everyone. So we have a few slides. Hopefully they'll come up on the screen. Oh, it's me. Nope. Okay, perfect. Dear colleagues, dear friends, good morning and welcome to the 10th IWC. For those of you that have not had the pleasure of meeting yet, my name is Andrew Hume, and I'm the International Waters Focal Area Coordinator at the GEF Secretariat. For the many greats that preceded me, Al, Yvonne, somewhere in the room, Chris, and others, it's really an honor to be here today and carrying on this important work of supporting each of you in our shared international waters mission. And I sincerely mean supporting you. As Fred highlighted in his opening remarks, the GEF is not a secretariat based in DC. The GEF is all of us in this room. Without you, we would not be here today to reflect on 30 years of innovation and impact in the international waters focal area. For those that are new to the international waters focal area in the community, you may hear some of us explain how long we've been in this family based on our first IWC For me, it was IWC6 in Dubrovnik. So while this will be my 5th IWC, in many ways, it feels like a first because of all the new faces in the room here. I look forward to meeting each of you this week and welcome you to the IW family. And speaking of family, I'd like to introduce now my colleagues from the entire GEF Secretariat International Waters Focal Area team. So first, you know me, Andrew. In addition to being the International Waters Focal Area Coordinator, I also cover the Latin America and Caribbean and SIDS regions and also lead our engagement on BBNJ. Many of you also know Astrid Hilliers. Astrid leads our portfolio on freshwater and covers Africa and Asia. Unfortunately, she wasn't able to make it here today or this week, but she stresses that she's available online over email. So please bombard her with emails this week so that she knows she's part of the community and is being thought of. Inez.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Ines Ben Abdallah, and I am one of those fresh faces. So I've joined the GEF Secretariat recently, and my portfolio will be the marine projects in Africa and Asia. Thanks.
And I'm Taylor Henshaw, not a fresh face. This is my 4th conference, but first one as a participant. I was with Mish Hamid, the technical coordinator of the previous 3. So seeing that video this morning fired me up, and very much looking forward to collaboration for the next few days. I'm responsible for the Latin America and Europe and Central Asia portfolios, and also support on ABNJ and some of our global programs.
Right. So what brings us here today under the International Waters Focal Area is a goal around supporting nations in transboundary cooperation in shared marine and freshwater resources. This week, we'll hear a lot about the origins of the International Waters Focal Area and key processes to support countries in this cooperation, such as the Transboundary Diagnostic Assessment and Strategic Action Program, TDA-SAP, and key management approaches like source-to-sea, integrated watershed management, and many others. I like to remind people that the things we appreciate and many of the things we dislike about the GEF were not created overnight. The entire GEF partnership has evolved to where it is today in response to the global environmental challenges we face and decisions taken by the entire GEF partnership. This is also true of the International Waters Focal Area strategy and our current GEF 8 strategy that you can see here on this slide. So under the first objective, so we're working on 3 main objectives in GEF 8. Under the first objective, we're focusing on coastal and nearshore ocean areas, especially in large marine ecosystems, to accelerate joint action to support sustainable blue economies. In Objective 2, we move to the high seas to advance management in areas beyond national jurisdiction, including supporting the new Biodiversity Beyond National Jurisdiction, or BBNJ agreement. In Objective 3, we turn towards land and focus on enhancing water security in freshwater ecosystems. So now I'll turn it over to Taylor, who's going to give us a short update on the progress we're making under these 3 objectives in GEF 8.
Okay, so GEF International Waters continues to be the largest grant funding mechanism for multi-country collaboration on shared freshwater and marine ecosystems. You've heard these numbers already. Since GEF inception, the IW Focal Area has programmed more than $1.25 billion in 22 LMEs and over $1 billion in 60 major transboundary rivers, 14 transboundary aquifers, and 16 shared lakes. And these incremental funds have leveraged and mobilized co-financing many times over. When multifocal area programming is factored in, so in cases where GEF IW funds are used in conjunction with GEF biodiversity, climate change, land degradation, or chemicals and waste funding, GEF IW grants total $3 billion with $19 billion in co-financing leverage. These funds have reached 157 recipient countries through more than 470 projects. So just in terms of sheer numbers, there's a vast set of experiences upon which we have and continue to harvest and build from to enhance programming in our IW portfolio. Switch slides. Thanks. Here's a quick update on the status of GEF 8 IW programming. The GEF operates in 4-year funding cycles, and we just hit the halfway mark in the 8th funding cycle. This table shows the breakdown of the $565 million GEF 8 IW allocation, as well as approved programming and progress made to date. 100% of IW funds allocated to GEF integrated programs have been programmed. We're approaching the 50% mark for sustainable blue economy and enhancing water security objectives. And we're ramping up programming in the months ahead under the ABNJ objective through enabling activities and ratification support projects to promote early entry into force and implementation readiness for the BBNJ agreement. So the main takeaway here is that we're at 57% programmed at the 50% timeline of the GEF 8 cycle.
Thank you. So I'm going to present to you this very complicated slide. This is showing the core indicators. So just to give a brief explanation, I think, to people who may not be familiar with how GEF projects work. So the GEF seeks to deliver multiple environmental benefits. These are called the global environmental benefits, the GBs. This will be one of the many acronyms you'll hear these couple of days, through integrated investment across the various dimensions of the global environment. So all projects contribute to achieving one or more of these core indicators, and we have in bold highlighted here the ones that are most relevant to the International Waters Project. And so you'll see that we have achieved more than the target that we've set, or actually it's good to mention that these are indicative numbers. These are the numbers that we receive at the PIF and CEO endorsement stages. Again, more technical words, but this is by the time that the GEF Council approves these projects. And so you are looking at the marine protected areas created or under improved management. So we have actually exceeded this target by 23%. The areas of marine habitat under improved practices to benefit biodiversity, we are almost at 40% of this target. And the target that is most relevant to International Waters Project is the transboundary water management strengthened. And as you can see, we are at around 65% of the shared water ecosystems under new and improved cooperative management. And we are around 62% of the globally overexploited marine fisheries moved to more sustainable levels. So we have 2 more years in the GEF 8 replenishment window, and we expect that we'll be able to achieve these targets by then. Thank you.
Last slide, so we'll be quick. Sorry, Konstantina. So we'll just wrap up briefly by looking forward at what's ahead of us. As Taylor and Inez mentioned, we're halfway through our current GEF 8 phase, which ends in June of 2026. The GEF 9 replenishment will officially begin with a decision at the upcoming GEF Council meeting, which will be in December of 2024, so the end of this year. And we expect that the GEF 9 replenishment negotiations will start early next year. Assuming the process goes as planned, GEF 9 will officially begin in July of 2026 and run through June of 2030. While it's a little too early to know exactly what the outcomes of those negotiations will be, there are some important themes emerging that we can expect will be part of this discussion. And you'll see these on the screen here. This includes a stronger emphasis on the whole of government and whole of society approach, meaning a more specific effort to include all branches of government, not just the executive branch, but legislative, judicial branches, and include all members of society in GEF planning and programming. Policy coherence, this is something we'll hear about this week already, but it's becoming a major part of the GEF focus, something International Waters has done already for many years, but we can expect that to be further emphasized in GEF 9. The 3 I's, what we're calling integration, innovation, and inclusivity. This is areas that we seek to emphasize in our GEF 9 programming as well. We'll also hope to see more effort around connecting programming from all of the GEF trust funds. The GEF is not just the single GEF trust fund, but also the Least Developed Countries Fund, Special Climate Change Fund, the Global Biodiversity Fund, and others, on what we call the GEF family of funds. And we can hope to see more programming across those in a strategic way under GEF 9. And lastly, I'll just emphasize the importance of what's at stake here with the GEF 9 replenishment process. GEF 9 concludes in 2030. At the same time, many major global commitments will be ending or reaching important milestones, including the Sustainable Development Goals and the Global Biodiversity Framework. So clearly we have a lot of work ahead of us. We can expect this next year and many years to come to be very busy, but we also expect there to be lots of opportunities through these commitments and through the GEF 9 programming to really have a big impact on our global environment. So with that, I'll stop. Thank you very much and look forward to a very productive week.
Thank you very much, colleagues. And now to offer a different perspective, that of the Independent Evaluation Office, let me invite my colleagues Mitsuaki Hirai and Janine Regis Garcia to take the floor.
Thank you, William, and good morning, everyone, and welcome again. My name is Janine Garcia, and with me is my colleague Mitsuaki Hirai, who is managing the current IW focal area study. I have been leading evaluations at the GEF Independent Evaluation Office for about 10 years now, and was just appointed IW focal area lead in our office as of last week. But this is not the only reason I'm excited to be here. My entry into evaluation more than a decade ago as a one-time marine biologist was through IW, as a core team member of the impact evaluation of GEF support to the South China Sea, which some of you may remember. I'm glad to be coming full circle to the focal area that for me feels most like home. As you may all know, the GEF is gearing up for its 9th replenishment. Today, we want to feed back to you, the IW community, highlights from our evaluative evidence on the focal area. First, we'll review key findings from our last comprehensive evaluation of the GEF, or what we call OPS7. Then we'll present recent assessments of the GEF's performance and impacts in 3 key areas relevant to IW. A review of the portfolio of recently completed projects, the evaluation of the GEF's approach to water security, and a strategic country cluster evaluation of the lower Mekong River Basin ecosystem. Lastly, we will give an overview of what's coming for OPS8. In OPS6, we flagged that the IW portfolio was skewed, with 60% of interventions working in marine versus 40% in freshwater ecosystems. 4 years later, in OPS7, the distribution is now 52 to 48 of marine to freshwater interventions, which is a more balanced distribution. This is a testament to the IW community's adaptability and responsiveness to learning. Funding for freshwater ecosystems correspondingly increased from 24% in GEF 6 to 36% in GEF 7. I now hand over to you, Mitsuaki, who will present his analysis of the IW portfolio.
Since GEF 5, GEF's IW focal area has supported 192 projects in 125 countries. Of these, 23% have been completed so far, and 77% are active. While the majority of the projects is still under implementation, GEF's Independent Evaluation Office reviewed some of the recently completed projects to gain insights into how GEF addressed transboundary cooperation and key issues. Based on our review, there are 3 types of key interventions. First, some projects focus on specific transboundary water bodies or regions and implemented strategic interventions for the same geographic areas over time. This long-term engagement in the same regions through TDA SAP approach facilitated transboundary cooperation and strengthened multi-sectoral coordination. In the second project type, a specific transboundary water issue was addressed at different geographic areas. This allowed the development and testing of certain technologies, including bycatch reduction tools, in multiple regions. The third project type focused on continuing investment in knowledge sharing and evidence generation. The Transboundary Water Assessment Program, TWAP, exemplified how GEF contributed to generating global evidence to inform actions. For the project performance, 86% of the projects had satisfactory outcomes, and 73% of the projects were likely to be sustained beyond the project period. One notable finding here is that the average outcome rating is better than earlier projects, and sustainability results are better than the overall GEF's portfolio across all focal areas. Now the question is, what kind of impacts did we produce? For that, I would like to invite Janine again for the further discussion.
Thank you, Mitsuaki. From that bird's eye view, let us now look through the lens of two evaluations on how the GEF specifically contributes on the ground, highlighting results in freshwater systems. The evaluation on water security looked at how the GEF approaches water security across its different focal areas. That is, to what extent GEF interventions improve or worsen the adequate supply of clean water for human well-being and ecosystem functioning. It also included how GEF projects protect society and ecosystems from water-related disasters. IW projects in particular were found to contribute to water security in three areas. First, strengthening mechanisms for transboundary governance, as Mitsuaki has already mentioned in the portfolio review. Second, initiating policy reforms, such as laws on environmental impact assessments, and creating mechanisms for intersectoral coordination, such as interministerial committees. And third, increasing stakeholder knowledge and capacity at both the national and regional levels. In the strategic country cluster evaluation of the lower Mekong River Basin, we found that the GEF's contributions are similar to what we've seen in other regions. We found that GEF projects were well aligned with both national and regional priorities. For example, early on, the GEF supported activities of existing regional bodies such as the ASEAN and the Mekong River Commission. At the national level, projects were consistent with development policies of partner countries. We also found that the GEF supported environmental policies designed to reduce the vulnerability of rural communities and marginalized populations, such as women and indigenous peoples. A previous IEO study similarly found that IW fisheries projects contribute to increased income, food security, and gender equality. This shows an increasing trend in the GEF, where environmental and social protection goals are being addressed at the same time. One lesson to note is that the most successful projects addressed both long-term resilience and short-term economic outcomes. This was achieved by ensuring that partners received the appropriate technical support. Three big themes we will cover in OPS 8 are policy coherence, broader adoption, and integration. I want to highlight now opportunities where the IW community can further push the envelope in achieving the SDGs through transformative action in these three areas. As you may know, and as Andrew mentioned, policy coherence is a central theme of GEF 8 and GEF 9. The specific focus is on harmonizing environmental objectives with non-environmental sector policies. The IW focal area, by pioneering the GEF systems approach, already has tools to enhance policy coherence. The TDA SAP process, integrated water resource management, and marine spatial planning, for example. The big opportunity is to promote policy coherence to address existing country needs. We've seen this in Georgia, where the goal of EU accession led to a new water law that unifies the different EU water directives using IWRM. We've also seen it in Azerbaijan, where increasing climate change-related droughts led to the creation of the State Water Agency, which brings the management of different water uses and water-related disasters under one institution, again through the principles of IWRM. This finding emerged from our study of how behavior change happens in the GEF. The IW focal area is known for its demonstrations to support SAP implementation. To promote broader adoption, that is, the sustainability, replication, mainstreaming, and scaling up of these pilots, the opportunity lies in dedicating more attention to the financial sustainability of the interventions, rather than relying on long-term GF support, which is not always available. You have all seen the GEF's trend toward more integrated programs. The IW focal area itself now has 3 times as many multifocal area projects as standalone IW projects. The opportunity here is to better integrate indicators with other focal areas so that environmental and socioeconomic benefits are fully captured and synergies among focal areas are designed by default. As for the coming OPS 8, what's next? As I've mentioned, the ISO is doing another IW focal area study, which my colleague Mitsuaki is managing, supported by our senior consultant, Richard Paisley, who many of you may know. The study will look at 3 main areas. First, how the IW focal area is adapting to the GEF's trend toward integrated programming and to the shifting global, regional, and national priorities. Second, what added value the focal area brings relative to other GEF programming and to non-GEF funded interventions. And third, again, as a pioneer in knowledge sharing in the GEF, how IW will further lead in this area going forward. As part of this study, we sent out a survey through the IW Learn newsletter prior to this conference. Thank you to those of you who have taken the time to respond. And if you haven't, you still have the chance by scanning this QR code now. Thank you very much, and looking forward to the rich discussions with you in the next few days.
Thank you very much, colleagues. And now, as we move on to the next session before the break, which will cover 30+ years of GEF International Waters, let me give the floor to the moderator of this session, who is also the heart and soul and brains behind this conference, Konstantina Tolli. You have the floor.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to IWC10 on behalf of IW Learn. It is my pleasure and honor to present you the panel of the celebratory session of the 30 years of GEF International Waters Focal Area. So I'm calling on stage Dr. Alfred Duda, former GEF IW Senior Advisor, Dr. Vladimir Mamaev, Regional Technical Advisor of UNDP, Ms. Isabel Vanderberg, IW Task Manager in UNEP, and Ms. Fatou Sok, Coordinator of Coastal Fisheries Initiative in FAO.
Thank you.
I need to say word. Please.
Okay. And if you can put up that first slide.
Yes. First is meeting up, third they won't see. And others, they're coming.
Okay.
Fourth from left. 1, 2, 3, yes.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Al from the Potomac River Basin, the Northeast Shelf Large Marine Ecosystem. I was fortunate to be involved with these IWCs for the first 8 of them. This was a good one in Croatia, but they don't have a slide up there. But I imagine this one will be just as good as well. I was asked today to share some remarks about the beginnings of the GF International Waters Focal Area. And I do want to thank the organizers for inviting me back after 12 years in retirement. The GF is not just any funding source. And this biennial conference is not just any water conference. That is because your job is immensely difficult in helping multiple countries work together for their shared water bodies and for shared peace among regional neighbors. No. You got to start with the first one. Your job is critical and hard, and I know that you know that now, but I knew that coming in because I was actually one of you. I was a director of a multi-country secretariat under a water treaty. I knew that this focal area wasn't going to be easy, and it can be really messy. but is really, really critical to achieve sustainable development. The GF began as a political compromise in 1991, and by the way, here was the last one, which was that I went to. That was a really good one. It was a political compromise in 1991 with a pilot phase of projects to test how GF would work. The permanent GF was established in 1994. It was intended to have a catalytic impact, a place to try new things, and serve as a financial mechanism for the global environmental conventions. Both the North and the South wanted IW from the start. They didn't want it constrained by a convention because freshwater and oceans are so important for their people and politically. They're very politically sensitive, and they clearly know this was to be a difficult job. During 1995, there were 4 GF Council meetings to decide how the GF would run and what its strategy would be. For IW, we built on pilot phase projects, legal frameworks, the new Agenda 21. We formed a task force to help provide options for the GF Council. Here you see your UNEP leader, Inger Anderson, who represented UNDP on that first international task force way back when. And here's the young Achim Steiner, who worked at IWC10 back then, who argued for a water ecosystem focus. And now he's head of UNDP. So your leaders do know about international waters. The Council finally settled on an operational strategy for how GF would work. The part for international waters was a new approach, focusing on countries cooperating on their shared transboundary water bodies, not themes. That was the old way of working. And that's a big difference back then. And that makes GF regional IW projects critical in this catalytic process. So the GF's job is to help countries catalyze sector action to deliver global benefits. So what are the benefits in international waters? The operational strategy kind of put it out for everybody in 1994 and 5. The Council adopted the definition that global benefits are produced in international waters if a key transboundary concern is being addressed. That's important. IW is not for all environmental stuff in a basin or marine system, only for concerns that cross borders. And it's important to note that the GF IW operational strategy, which still survives, is the only global instrument for all transboundary waters that the North and the South politically agree on. And IW is intended to resolve these conflicts and help people, help them and their communities to overcome the conflicts. The IW strategy is simple. First, a diagnostic, the TDA, for the water body, and then a country-approved action program, the SAP, for the water body, outlining policy, legal, institutional reforms, and investments needed to address just those transboundary concerns. You can't address everything at once. You have to set priorities. So countries would set their priorities. A limited number of global demonstration projects were called for, and that's critical, a limited number. And not all countries in the basin or LME are needed for projects, only those that are willing. GFIW tries to level the playing field between the stronger countries and those that are not so strong. Otherwise, sustainable development in these areas, more than half of the earth, is not going to be achieved. The diagnostic, or TDA, is critical for countries to identify and set those priorities. Here's a cartoon of a transboundary diagnostic for Lake Victoria Basin, 5 countries on one page. This is not rocket science. It does not need to be 100, 200 pages or thousands of pages of data. The SAP then identifies how the countries plan to implement their national reforms and investments and what type of cooperative framework they want, kind of a visioning process. The SAP must be signed by ministers to get GF funding for implementation. Here's a SAP for a basin upstream of Montevideo, a critical one, the Bermejo. And the NAPs, National Action Plans, were piloted by the Black Sea Project with Vladimir over here, outlining specific reforms and investments the countries were going to commit to. So that's how the TDAs, the SAPs, the NAPs came about. They're enabling activities, just like in the other GF focal areas. One important point, again, about TDAs and SAPs. All of you know very well that these large multi-country systems and the oceans are very complex, and they're being degraded by multiple sector activities. That is why GF requests that each country establish a national inter-ministry committee to participate in that first GEF enabling activity project, the TDA SAP project. This is difficult. It takes time. Different ministries don't normally want to work together. I experienced that in the United States. But GF funding will be wasted if you don't document ministry buy-in and country buy-in for these needed multiple sector reforms for these big water bodies. You won't change a thing in these big water systems. And after lunch, there's actually a session about this if you want to speak about it further. A couple of other points before I join the panel. In the early days, GF Council members complained that GEFSEC took just too long to review project proposals and that the project cycle was too complex. In IW, it was actually designed to be simple, to avoid long GEFSEC reviews. Do the TDA, do the SAP, perhaps the NAP, and then the bigger money for single country or regional implementation projects should logically flow from that. And those countries that adopted this strategy were able to receive large implementation money for implementation. Here you $70 or $80 million, big implementation money for countries in the Danube Black Sea programmatic approach, which consisted of two parts: a regional project to foster the cooperation among the countries, and then an investment fund for those policy, legal, and institutional reforms each countries need to make in the different sectors. Others were there, one for the Mediterranean, one for the East Asia, nutrient reduction, GPA, programmatic approach that you see here, a West Africa sustainable fisheries programmatic approach as well with an investment fund. This was the way forward when I reached the World Bank's mandatory retirement age in 2012. Single sector reform projects complemented by regional projects for building the country's cooperative frameworks. And this brings me then to my final remarks. The first GEF CEO quietly asked me to try to develop IW similar to the other focal areas that had conventions, like climate change or biodiversity. So the TDAP is an enabling activity like those required by the conventions. After the first project of enabling activities, then you can receive implementation projects. Critical to this implementation is learning. And IW Learn was developed for knowledge management, distance learning, and experience sharing, kind of like the convention secretariats, which had clearinghouse mechanisms. So there's an analogy there. And this IWC is very important as well. It's kind of like a conference of the parties, where the people can come back and provide feedback to the GF agencies and the Secretariat. We have lots of, and actually it's IW Learn that has lots of information for you, the experience notes that I just had, various publications of the success stories from GEF, and perhaps I can speak a little more on the panel about IW Learn and climate change. Critical to the future will be these deep aquifers. And the GEF has experience in the area, but it's got to be expanded to the deeper aquifers everywhere where there is drought and water scarcity. But it can even happen here in humid areas, like the Guarani Aquifer. And we're really proud of Uruguay and the 3 other countries for ratifying their agreement. It's really critical. So thanks to everybody for being here. International waters are important for sustainable development, for the people in your countries, for peace and security, and again, for your roles here in GEF. And now maybe we can move to the panel. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Alex. Thank you. Turning to Vladimir, who we call him Vladimir, everyone knows him. I think he's a synonym to IW because he has been serving GEF International Waters for 31 years. Vladimir, how has this journey been to you, from the first pilot phase to now a portfolio of 500 GEF IW projects?
Thank you, Konstantina. Good morning, everybody. It's great to be here. And the number 31, and we're celebrating 30. I don't know what happened in 1 year. So it's more than 30 years journey of IW. And this was an amazing journey, full of challenges. It's never boring, this portfolio. You know, one day you are a scientist working on with a national expert to identify the baseline for the transboundary diagnostic analysis. And then you analyze the data to identify the major transboundary problems of the water ecosystem. And the next day you're working with the politicians on the development of the strategic action program and national action plans. And the following day, you're working with the legal experts on a convention, working with a wide range of national and regional stakeholders. You know, nowadays, we do have a lot of TDA methodology, project manager's manual, and many other great products that IW Learn is producing. Back in the 90s, where we were doing everything by learning, establishing a project, developing a TDA, negotiating a SAP. That was all done for the first time. Yeah, during this journey, it's the most important thing is that you are working with people. Yes, you're right. You're working from people from different backgrounds, cultures, and beliefs, and you are enjoying this unique partnership. As mentioned by Al, from the first ever TDA and SAP on the Black Sea and the Danube River back in the 90s to the newly approved projects in Central Asia for glaciers, or the project on Drin River and Dinaric Karst, an amazing achievement of the GEF IW portfolio for the past 30 years, and I'm very proud to be part of this success.
Thank you very much, Vladimir. I'm turning to Isabel, who most probably is the longest-serving female in the GEF, or acting, at least today. Isabel joined GEF International Waters in 1998 and spearheaded the evolution of the portfolio in the Americas, then in Asia, and she has been catalytical in some of the flagship projects like the Amazon. How was this journey for you, Isabel? What were the milestones? What was the evolution?
Thank you, Konstantina, and good morning to all. To me, my journey has been fantastic. International Waters is truly the story of my life, and I started it by pure coincidence. I just joined the team in UNEP, in the freshwater team, and everybody was booked for going on mission. and they needed someone to go on a fact-finding mission in Brazil called by the government. And so I was volunteered, and I was so lucky, right? So I met Alduda, I met great colleagues like the OES, Mr. Rooks and others. I got a crash course in the GEF from Al, and a quiz every day. He's a good professor, I can attest. He's passionate, as we all know, and his passion fades, and it really faded on me, and probably shaped the strong passionate that I am today for the focal area. So out of this mission, we designed the Pantanal project. And we started in Brazil. Okay, you saw the operational strategy, and there were operational programs, and operational program 8 allowed us to work in one single country, which was not very typical of the focal area, if the system was residing mostly in that one country, which was the case for the Pantanal. 70–80% of the wetland sits in Brazil. And we had to test this TDSAP methodology that you've heard all about. We had to test it. Countries didn't know much about it, so we started in Brazil, in the Pantanal. It proved to be a successful experience. The country believed in the approach and the methodology, and actually the SAP was transformed and operationalized into a basin plan. And that basin plan was mandatory by law. We then thought, okay, we are working in the Pantanal, that's the headwaters of the Plata, critical hydrological buffer, but we need to look at other parts of the Plata system. So we moved into the Bermejo, and you saw the SAP over there. So there were 2 countries, Bolivia and Argentina. So we had to convince them as well about the power of this transboundary diagnostic analysis and matching strategic action program. And it worked quite well as well. And I must confess that the Bermejo SAP is probably one of the most defined, precise, and action-oriented SAP. And the countries really believed in the power of transboundary cooperation and on the value of this approach. So then we could confidently, we had built trust about the approach amongst some of the countries by then, and we moved then into the Plata space. We had to adjust the methodology there. We looked at the Danube. The Danube had a multi-stakeholder, multi-thematic approach, and we used that approach. We added a vision statement because when you deal with 5 countries in a very complex basin, you need to set a long-term goal, and we set a vision. So it was a good journey. It was a long journey, and now I think we need integrated approaches. The GEF is really pushing for those in this current cycle. They started piloting them in the previous cycle, but I think that's the future. We need to look at transversal issues such as nutrient management, perhaps source to sea, and tackle that across those big systems.
Thank you very much, Isabel. You touched everything from the evolution of the portfolio all the way to the current challenges. Before we move to this next question that is about the challenges that we're facing in international waters, I would like to turn to the newest member in this panel. Fatou, you're coordinating a global initiative that eventually affects the lives of coastal fishermen and small-scale fisheries. You've been working in GEF International Waters for 5 years now, right? So what is GEF IW to you? We know for the people that have been there for 30 years, it's their life, actually. But what is it to you? And most importantly, what do you see that the impact is of GEF International Waters?
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Constantina. Good morning, everyone. I think I will first respond by saying that for me, GEF IW Learn is like a family. And we always try to work, bearing in mind that we need to partner, to work together to create solutions for fisher folks. But let me just say some word about the Coastal Fishery Initiative I'm working with. It is $33 million USD funded program, global one, implemented in 3 regions and 6 countries. In Indonesia for Asia, in Peru and Ecuador for Latin America, and Cabo Verde, Côte d'Ivoire, and Senegal for West Africa. Implemented by 6 GEF implementing agencies. It is just to give you an idea about what partnership and what institutional arrangement you need to work on. And it was a very innovative approach. And we work to foster holistic processes and integrated approach. And we were in 15 pilot sites, including 7 Ramsar sites. Just to give you an overview of this initiative. So for the fisher folks, small-scale fishers and fish workers, I think all of you know the vital role they are playing in for food security, nutrition, and also for securing livelihoods and jobs for around 500 million people who depend on them. We depend on fisheries. I will say SSF because it's the way we say that usually. So for SSF, with this program, we have seen that during all the action visits we organized, because all of you know that the knowledge management and knowledge sharing processes are very important for GEF projects. And during these exchanges, we noticed that wherever regardless of the geographies, these SSF actors encountered the same issues: lack of access for resources, lack of access for technology, for knowledge, for information, for legal aspects. So we said that with this program now, we have the opportunity to work on global solutions. Of course, global solutions to be replicated and which could be adapted in each of these contexts. And we work on that. And we did like comparison of comparative advantage for each of these countries. And we had champions. For example, for Peru was the champions for all the management of mangroves. And it was like the one who had to champion all the people, all the other colleagues and all in the other countries. And we did that for each of these challenges encountered by the SSF actors. And we have very good practices replicable in terms of how to manage these issues and to reach sustainability for fisher folks. So I've seen that.
Thank you very much, Fatou. It is important to understand the impact of international waters. What is the real impact on people's lives and beyond ecosystems? And this experience here is truly valuable. I'm turning to you that 30 years ago, or a bit more over than 30 years ago, IW was established, and following that, IW Learn was created. Why?
We all benefit from learning from those who came before us. So experience sharing, learning is really important. Back around 1996, 1997, the internet seemed like a pretty good platform. So the idea was perhaps we can develop something like IW Learn for experience sharing, distance learning, information availability. So that's why it was really started. We work back and forth remotely, but to really share your experiences with people you don't know, you need to meet face to face. So that's why this IWC was created, so that people could share experiences back and forth. I think IW Learn, beside being kind of a convention secretariat for these type of activities, and the IWC kind of like being a conference of the parties, I think it's really had a global impact on this. The issue of transboundary waters has been raised so high now, and you see more people involved with it in the 20 plus years from IW Learn. And perhaps more importantly, it's accelerated successes by learning in this focal area, the international waters focal area, for both the near coastal oceans as well as transboundary freshwater basins. And I think it has a really important future as you develop AI to really spruce up the availability of documents, and as you perhaps engage even further with perhaps additional finance to help projects with all the needs that they have. It's critical for this focal area.
Thank you very much, Al. Vladimir, you've been not only our supporter, our patron in IW Learn. What is IW Learn to you?
Well, Constantina, for me, IW Learn are people. People sitting in this audience, great experts that believe in what they are doing. That's number one. Number two is the great support that IW Learn is providing to our portfolio, to our projects, to help them to better implement their projects. And finally, of course, the continuity of the IW Learn for so many years, when we're looking forward for its continuation over the 9 and 10 and 11th GEF replenishment.
Thank you. Looking forward to that. As we are already late, we're going into our last round of questions. And I will start with you, Fatou. It will be the same question for all of you. In the face of so many challenges and changes, from climate change, stretched resources, unprecedented global events, changing strategies also, what are your concerns regarding international waters, and how do you see the future of IW? Very quickly, in 1 minute. So starting with Fatou.
Okay, I think I will take on the SSF the local communities, because I think given the role they are playing. In my point of view, I think we need to continue to build strong partnerships, using also the development bank and investors to create financing models which could be sustainable and which could support programs at regional level, but having also a global mechanism for knowledge sharing. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think we need to focus on sustainability of project outcomes. We need to strengthen country buy-in and financing beyond and above the project lifetime.
And from my side, I like to add that one project is fine. It sets the stage. A program is better. It's more impactful. You need to partner with, we said, the whole of society, the whole of government. You need to partner with multilateral banks, with investors, to bring them in from the get-go, not at the end. That doesn't work. We have migrated from projects to program. That's the trend in the GEF. But from the plastic program experience, I'd like to share one thing with you. We have 15 projects, and you will hear about the program later. We have 15 national child projects, and we have a global platform, which is supposed to be the glue so that the whole is greater than the sum of the part, which is the catchphrase that the GEF is using. But it's still to be proven, because the design showed that basically we design 15 national child projects. And for international waters, it means a shift. It means that we shift from transboundary cooperation in multi-country system to something more national. So is it something that we want? Are we losing our unique niche in the world? I don't know. I don't have the answers for you. I have some ideas, but maybe you want to think about this. Thank you.
Yes, I'm worried about the focal area. I was worried about imbalance with more oceans rather than freshwater. That might have been somewhat rectified in the last replenishment, but in this replenishment, I look at the work programs. I'm retired, but I do look at them, and there are more ocean-related things. And more worrisome, as you saw in the slides from the evaluation office, where are the benefits? Biodiversity, land degradation, chemicals. Where are the benefits for international waters? I'm worried about that. If the money's spent for that with no money left for helping neighbors with peace, security, and stability. My hope, though, is that I'm wrong. My hope is that for transboundary freshwater basins, there'll be IWRM, conjunctive use of the surface water and the aquifers, especially those deep aquifers. And GF needs to make a big push on that, because there'll be no surface aquifers left with all the droughts coming up. For the coasts, ICM, and we've certainly demonstrated that virtually everywhere. And then for the near coastal oceans, the LMEs and the EEZs, really need to strengthen those RFMOs, really need to do MSP, the marine spatial planning, and perhaps more critical than anything is what was demonstrated in the South China Sea with fish refugia. That LME is quite contentious, but fish refugia, where you're working in the productive landscape and not parks, is really critical to this focal area in the coastal oceans.
Thank you very much, Al. This session was planned to be a 30-minute session, and unfortunately you cannot summarize, or fortunately you cannot summarize 30 years of international waters, of experience, of stories, of impact in 30 minutes. But we hope that we set the stage. You heard some testimonials. While Vladimir and Isabel were speaking, they didn't realize that we presented, some highlights of their journey and some real photos that show that IW is also a family. And we hope, especially for those of you, it seems that more than 50% of our audience here is new, is their first IWC. We hope that you will start creating all these relations. You not only network and exchange, but you start building relations among the family. We call it a family for a reason. Thank you very much. Welcome to IWC10.
The next session is about catalyzing transboundary cooperation. And we have a number of colleagues speaking. Mr. Stutzin from Chile, Ms. Nguyen from Vietnam, Mr. Leneauti from Tuvalu. And let me then call our moderator for this session to the stage, our friend, Mr. Ivan Savatsky. You have the floor.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome back after a short but important break. Now, this panel, this short session, is about how to foster the transboundary cooperation with the help of the GEF projects, and what is important at the policy level. How these two streams, one implementing the GEF projects, are helping the necessary policy changes to foster the transboundary cooperation, but on the other hand, how GEF projects are needed, the national reforms and policy changes, to be able to get the sustainability of this project. So the objective is to get a clear message from national government representatives and international banks how this works in practice and what is important. So with this objective, let me invite these 5 distinguished panelists on the scene. Please take the seats. So first it is Mr. Gilbert Mavere, from Director of the Water Resources Development Utilization Department, Ministry of Lands, Agriculture, and so on in Zimbabwe. He has 30 years of experiences working in field of water. So, Gilbert, please take the floor. Next, I would like to ask Dr. Nguyen Thuy Anh from the Ministry of Natural Resources and Environment in Vietnam. She's member of the regional steering committees of 2 international water projects in Southeast Asia. She has been working in various aspects of water resources management, from developing water governance to legal and policy frameworks. Then we have Mr. Lono Lenuati from Tuvalu, a national project coordinator for managing the coastal aquifers in selected Pacific Seas projects. And he's anchored in the Department of Climate Change of Government of Tuvalu. And then we have also Mr. Sorry, my computer collapsed. Mr. Ignacio Lorenzo from the CAF, the Bank for Regional Development Bank for Pacific Island, for Caribbean and Latin America. So, please, we are still missing one person. I'm sorry. And we have also Mr. Miguel Stutzin, a GEF operational focal point from Chile. I'm sorry, because my computer in the meantime collapsed, who is operational focal, and he has also vast experience on putting forward the implementation of regional transboundary projects in Chile, the regional and national level. So, please take your seats. So, welcome. And I will start with Mr. Mavere Gilbert. You have vast experiences working on different projects in South Africa, Limpopo, Zimbabwe, and other places. Also, you work on the lake projects. Could you give us some example or your vision how this connection between policy and GEF project is working in your area, and what is the most important for the success on both ends? Implement projects to get its sustainable results, but also to help the national governments to take the necessary reforms. So the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Ivan. Thank you. Let me say, good morning, everyone. I come from Southern Africa, Zimbabwe, and we are very grateful and appreciative of the support which we have been getting from GEF. And currently, we have got 2 of our river basin commissions, which we are getting support from GEF. The first one being Bupusa or Uzi, Pungwe, and Save transboundary water courses. And on this one, we have been assisted in coming up with the Tri-Basin Institution or Pupusa Commission, which really is a commission bringing on board transparency, sharing of information, and also addressing issues of water resources management. We have got 2 countries, Zimbabwe being on the upstream, and also our neighbor, Mozambique, being on the downstream. And our part of the region has been experiencing, is very prone to climate change. Not so long ago, we had Cyclone Idai, and we saw a lot of death, which were caused by this cyclone due to flooding. And again, we had also serious droughts, like this year. Towards the end of the season, we experienced a serious drought. So again, you would find in these rivers or shared water courses, we need to be a bit more proactive or transparent in coming together. I think I heard earlier on that just bringing players together who are involved in water management really sort of creates that transparency. Knowing each other, you tend to really sort of get whatever you want to get. For example, if I get a call from my counterpart director from Mozambique, we would quickly also transmit the situation on the other side. So that's the situation which I can say we have been getting support from is GEF. And what we have in place through this support are policy documents like agreements on the hosting of the BUPUSA as an institution, and also the agreement itself on coming up with BUPUSA. Then also we had a water sharing agreement, which were signed also by our two ministers. Then we've got another, Water Cost Commission, where again GEF is providing support. And on this one, we had in it just directors initially who were constituting the commissioners as the highest body. But this time, our ministers requested that no, they should be really part of that agreement. So there is an amendment which was done through the support again of GEF, of bringing the two countries together. And then we saw within the structure of LIMCOM, our ministers really sort of being the highest decision-making body in terms of water resources management and development.
Okay, thank you very much for this practical example, how really the connection between the GEF project implementation and the decision making at the highest political level is connected and is bringing fruits. I will now move to Southeast Asia, to Nguyen. You have also vast experience working on different projects, Mekong also involved in the Lower Mekong River project. So can you also give us some examples from your region, how really Vietnam is being influenced by this project and how Vietnamese authorities, local and central government are helping these projects to move forward. So please, Nguyen.
So thanks a lot for your introduction. So hello everyone. My name is Thuy Anh, coming from the Ministry of Natural Resources and Environment of Vietnam. So as you know, Vietnam is a southeast country that we have a very long coastal line and then very water dependent on outside because around more than 63% of the total water of the country originated from outside. So that transboundary cooperation is something that fall within our government's priorities and visions of strengthening the collaborations between Vietnam and some upstream countries. So fortunately, we are having two international water projects with GEF currently. One is with Lao PDR government, and then focusing on the shared rivers, the Maca and river watersheds that fall in the middle of Vietnam. And then the second international water GF project is the CMDA, focusing on the Mekong Delta and between Cambodia and the Vietnam government. And then those projects really in line, the goals of this project really in line with our government's strategy. Recently, we have newly updated the law on water resources, which include one chapter of transboundary transboundary water management and about international cooperations on water to enhance the water security of the country. And in addition, we also newly approved for the first time the National Water Resources Plan, which have the goals and the objective of the plans really in line with the goals of and the objective of the 2 GF project, ongoing projects. So our 2 GF project currently still at the very early stage of inception phase and planning, but then the lesson learned we can figure out through working and doing working and learning with related stakeholders like FAO, IWC10, Murphy, UNESCO, etc. is like we need to have a consensus at the beginning, which is very crucial because it's just like you are the good cook, but then all of us are vegetarian, so it's and then you're good at cooking steak, for example, so it doesn't work as well. So we have the law changing, updating all of the policy framework. That's the reason why I think it's crucial we can stick to the goals of the project, but adjusting the detailed working plan. We will work together to finalize a detailed work plan. It's not like everything from the product. So that's a lesson learned through the previous we have implemented. And then one more thing is like the roles of, we really want to promote the roles of the JTC member who can give the non-biased advice to all related stakeholders, including governments or implementing partners. And then also the roles of the local expert, the national expert who really understand the context of the country so that can customize all of the GEF guidance and guidelines and etc. to the real context of the country. And then it's easier for us, the 2 governments, to endorse the SAP, for example, and that's a key criteria for the successful of the international GF projects. So thanks.
Thank you very much for these examples and the progress you are making in really making the national policies more customized and more, let's say, aligned with the objective of the GEF project, because it's, as I said, it's related. Can I now move to Pacific Island, to Tuvalu? Luna, could you be so kind, because as you said, you are somewhat anchored in government, and the coastal aquifers in the island like yours are critical for the survival. So not the only threat for small island development states are the raising of the sea level, but also the sources of the freshwater for population there. So can you give us your understanding or your vision how your government is really changing and making reforms to make sure that the project is able to deliver its product, and on the other hand, how this GEF project is assisting you to change your national policies to be sure that the sustainable use of your coastal aquifers is, let's say, central for the long use. So please.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ivan. Firstly, I'd like to address, that's not my photo, if you can all see. That's actually our former Minister of Finance and Minister of Climate Change. He was also the Minister of Climate Change. To get back to your question, thank you very much. Good morning, everyone again. My name is Lono Lenewoti. I come from a tiny nation called Tuvalu in Pacific, and I believe it's probably the smallest country represented here at the IWC10. Tuvalu is, the population is about 11,000 people living in 9, it's important as a background for people who don't know the Pacific, and living in 9 islands, 9 small coral atolls, and the total mass of these islands put together is just about 26, 27 square kilometers. So it's a tiny, tiny nation. I can only share experiences from the project that I work for, managing coastal aquifers in selected Pacific small island development states. And I think for many of the small island development states like Tuvalu, we share a lot of the marine resources, of course, with our neighboring countries. But this project is more on water resources, which for many of these islands, we don't really share. We don't have rivers, we don't have surface water. So our main source of water is rainwater and groundwater. And the little aquifer that we have are very shallow, but we are trying to use in this project that resource to be as a security for climate-induced disaster, especially during droughts. Anyway, the Managing Coastal Aquifer project is a great example of the cooperation that can happen between the islands in the Pacific, because the project is involved in 3 of the small island development states in the Pacific, namely Palau, the Republic of the Marshall Islands, and of course Tuvalu. And as I said, the project is looking at utilizing groundwater as a means to address environmental, climate resilience, and water security issues that are common to these small Pacific nations. So at the same time, this is influencing policy at the national level, the work that we're doing, and I'll give you some examples of this. One of the works that the project is involved in is what we call community-based monitoring of water resources. And it's something that was newly developed for our countries, especially in Tuvalu. And we're gathering data that is put together to become information that is relevant to the leaders at the local level, also up to the national level, to make informed decisions, evidence-based decisions. And at the local level, examples of this involve using the data for disaster response during droughts, and for example, managing the sharing of and rationing of water resources to the community. It's used in disaster planning to develop drought management plans. Also, the islands at the moment are going through island strategic planning processes, which the island strategic plans link to the national development plan of the whole country. And further than that, it links to the regional 2050 Blue Pacific strategy for the region. And so that's one example of how this is linked into policy, impacting into policy nationally. Also, there's work in the project looking at, inundation modeling. And I believe our booth outside has a model that people can have more information. So please come and visit our booth to get more information about the inundation modeling that we have.
Okay,
thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you very much for this experience. And also that it's not only, on one hand, it's a national policy development and practice, but also how you share with other nations or other islands in your region, that it's really somewhat a cumulative impact. May I move now to Chile? And will you be so kind, because as we discussed before that, you as a operational focal point, you are very much involved in the policy work, the preparation to get the GEF in process, because we heard, not only here, but many times, that sometimes even somebody mentioned that the project cycle, that from decision of the council to real implementation sometimes take very long. So can you share with us a few experiences how your government or your administration is struggling with that, and what we can do better, and what you are doing about that to make sure that this project could happen? And as a warning to the audience, you will speak in Spanish, okay?
Yes, Ivan, thank you very much.
Go ahead.
Yes, I would speak in Spanish. Muchas gracias, Iván, por la oportunidad y también a la organización. Quizás voy a dar un enfoque un poco distinto desde el punto de vista operacional del proyecto. Primero quisiera destacar la importancia del programa de aguas internacionales del GEF. Es un programa, como lo hemos visto estos días, de gran impacto local y también impacto en los ecosistemas más globales. Y desde ese punto de vista, viendo toda la cartera o tipos de proyectos del GEF, probablemente son los proyectos más complejos. Es un área extremadamente compleja por su desafío, por su ambición, ¿no es cierto?, al tratar ecosistemas, al enfrentar proyectos de distintos países en conjunto, con metas globales, pero también metas en cada país. Y de ese punto de vista, obviamente el ciclo de proyectos pasa a ser fundamental. Y la participación de los puntos focales operativos del GEF, aquí también hago un llamado a mis colegas y también a los distintos actores y particularmente a la agencia. Nosotros estamos para ayudar a los proyectos, estamos para poner al proyecto delante como punto final, y desde ese punto de vista creo que la participación nuestra es muy importante y debe ser fortalecida. Es una situación doble, también es un trabajo para nosotros, debemos ser más proactivos, pero también hago un llamado a que también particularmente las agencias implementadoras y ejecutoras nos involucren más en sus actividades. Bueno, yendo al ciclo de proyecto, obviamente la etapa de diseño pasa a ser fundamental, particularmente cuando tenemos estos proyectos de varios países transfronterizos donde hay situaciones de regulación, de convenios, que trascienden las fronteras, que tienen un ámbito más político, pero también un ámbito más técnico. Y en ambas situaciones hay que llegar a acuerdos, hay que llegar a trabajar en conjunto. Y de ese punto de vista, cuando uno planifica el proyecto, yo quiero apuntar a 2 o 3 puntos dado el poco tiempo. Lo primero es que hay que pensar siempre que hay que trabajar en un equipo. Los proyectos GEF son un equipo que son parte de las comunidades, de la parte local, el sector de gobierno. El sector de gobierno son distintos ministerios, probablemente distintas instancias. Está también las entidades, por ejemplo, universidades, municipios, en fin, entidades locales. Muy importante, las agencias implementadoras, las agencias ejecutoras y el GEF como secretariado con sus expertos. Entonces, en esa fase, yo creo que el mayor desafío, y para no alargarme mucho, es cómo hacemos que los ciclos sean más cortos. Hay proyectos GEF en esta área que han demorado 4, 5, 6 años, ¿ya? Y ahí hay que buscar, yo no tengo la solución, pero cuando los proyectos GEF parten en aguas internacionales de una iniciativa del Estado, del gobierno, de las comunidades y fluye hacia arriba, es mucho más probable, ¿no es cierto?, que los ciclos se acorten porque los proyectos pasan a ser de prioridades políticas, prioridades técnicas de los países y no son, digamos, no viene una propuesta de afuera que hay que convencer a los países, a los gobiernos que sean parte de los proyectos. Y de ese punto de vista también la participación de las cancillerías, de los ministerios de Relaciones Exteriores en los proyectos transfronterizos es clave, y es clave desde el comienzo, porque en términos prácticos, un proyecto nuestro, el de la gran ecosistema marino de la corriente de Humboldt, que ya llevamos su segundo ciclo, o sea, van 6 años de proyecto, considerando los 4 años del primero y 2 del segundo, en algún momento hubo que hacer una revisión y un acuerdo político del punto de vista con Perú en temas administrativos y de Cancillería. Eso es lógico, eso no nos debe sorprender. Tenemos que colocarlo en el tiempo del proyecto y eso demoró prácticamente 6 o 7 meses. Y luego, por lo tanto, hay que jugar con mucho cuidado con las expectativas. O sea, yo considero, con la experiencia que tenemos en Chile, en este momento tenemos 30 proyectos en ejecución, bastante, como 4 o 5 en planificación. También es importante, los puntos focales, podemos dar la coherencia de los proyectos en el territorio. Hay muchos territorios que tienen más de un proyecto GEF, ¿no es cierto? Y ahí, ¿no es cierto?, es muy importante dar esa coherencia. También en términos de expectativa, los proyectos tienden en esta área a demorar mucho tiempo, y cuando uno planifica un proyecto, pensar que eso se va a ejecutar en 4 o 5 años, yo creo que tenemos que cambiar el switch, tenemos que pensar que los proyectos necesariamente se demoran en promedio más de 12 meses desde el inicio, desde el acuerdo hasta que parten. Por lo tanto, si estamos pensando en un proyecto de 4 años, definitivamente tenemos que pensar que ese proyecto del inicio va a demorar 5 o 6 años. Bueno, muchas gracias. Tengo mucho para compartir, pero muchas gracias por la atención.
Thank you very much for this practical example, but also the maybe guidance how overcome these troubles in the beginning of the project cycle. Sorry to interrupt you, but we have very little time. So now to Nacho, I would like to hear from you a different perspective, not from the national, but we know development banks are there to help the nations to move forward, to develop different type of infrastructure policies. But you also have this dialogue with the countries on the reforms and how you see the international water portfolio or the international water projects in your region and how your bank is part of that as one of the implementing agency. What is your, let's say, experience in this process and what you would see as important in this connection between national policies, transboundary cooperation and individual projects? And thank you.
Hello, thank you, Ivan, and good morning, colleagues. And I beg your indulgence, I'm in my home country, so I will also be addressing the audience in Spanish. Muy buen día a todas y todos. Ignacio Lorenzo, director de Biodiversidad y Clima en CAF, el Banco de Desarrollo de América Latina y Caribe. Nosotros somos una agencia GEF y llevamos adelante varios proyectos de aguas internacionales en la región de América Latina y Caribe. Y bueno, un poco tomando las preguntas que nos hacía Iván, en particular nos interesaría tocar dos temas. Uno es el diálogo institucional y la construcción institucional, obviamente intergubernamental, pero a su vez asociada a las políticas nacionales. Y en segundo lugar también el diálogo en relación a las finanzas. En relación al primer punto, y bueno, CAF tiene experiencia en varias cuencas y varios trabajos de aguas internacionales, me gustaría referirme a uno en particular, que es el trabajo en la Cuenca del Plata, que bueno, estamos aquí en la Cuenca del Plata, en los últimos 500, 600 metros de la cuenca en su extremo sur. Y lo primero a destacar es que el proceso de inversión de aguas internacionales y de acompañamiento financiero y técnico se da enmarcado en un proceso institucional de larga data, ¿no? Que es el Comité Intergubernamental Coordinador y la estructura de gobernanza que tiene la cuenca para su coordinación de acciones. Y eso es un elemento fundamental en aquellos espacios donde existe una institucionalidad formada, es como el proyecto del GEF, tanto en su fase de diseño y preparación como en su fase de desarrollo e implementación, de alguna manera se cuelga y fortalece el aspecto institucional como yo lo diría, un medio, pero también un fin en sí mismo en relación a esa gobernanza y trabajo compartido. Y ahí también hay algo interesante en la experiencia de Cuenca del Plata, es que esa construcción intergubernamental en la cuenca también está nutrida y en alianza con procesos a nivel nacional e incluso a veces hasta de segundo y tercer nivel de gobierno, y ni que hablar también con la sociedad civil, la academia y el sector privado. En ese proceso se construye una especie de gran red de despliegue institucional, de diálogo, que permite empezar a encontrar esas sinergias en la acción de política, por ejemplo, a partir de la información, el conocimiento y las propias políticas locales. En particular, en el caso de Cuenca del Plata, un ejemplo de ello tiene que ver con las políticas climáticas, que de alguna manera afectan obviamente las condiciones de adaptación, de mitigación, de uso de la cuenca, y ahí también la oportunidad de linkear esos procesos de construcción estratégica intergubernamental, asociado también a la experiencia de políticas nacionales, puede ser, digamos, un activo para encontrar aquellos diferenciales de colaboración, pero también una base sólida de donde, de alguna manera, desplegar acciones en cada uno de los países. En segundo lugar, y esto también es una lección un poco que teníamos de la preconferencia que tuvimos oportunidad de tener en la sede de CAF en Montevideo, es la necesidad de incorporar de mayor profundidad, de mejor manera, los aspectos financieros. Y acá también hay un elemento también de diálogo institucional que muchas veces nos perdemos, que tienen que ver con las instituciones financieras, no solamente las regionales o multilaterales, sino también con las instituciones financieras locales, que también cumplen un rol en financiar a veces acciones en pro del ambiente, a veces acciones que no. Y en ambos casos es necesario integrarlas al proceso para encontrar también claves de asociación que permitan sostener y financiar las acciones que, por ejemplo, los planes de extracción establecen y que muchas veces tocan sectores, como ustedes lo saben, totalmente diversos, ¿no? Temas de agricultura, temas de conservación, temas de energía, que las instituciones financieras están ahí proveyendo financiamiento y que lo pueden hacer de una manera más sostenible hacia el futuro.
Thank you very much, Nacho, for this aspect from a broader perspective. On the other hand, using this example of your Plata project, I got up a very strong message from the organizers. The time is over, and I think that's important. However, I would like to have two things. Ask one of you to give a one-sentence advice to GEF family. I mean, on the project side, I mean, GEF projects, implementing agencies, executing agencies. What would be your recommendation in one sentence they can do better to help you to do a better job in facilitating the transboundary cooperation or implementation of the projects in a better way, in a shorter way? So I'm looking for a volunteer. Okay, but please, two sentences only.
Una frase.
Okay.
Conocer mejor la realidad en el territorio y en los países de cómo se desarrollan los proyectos. Yo creo que hay una diferencia cada vez mayor entre la teoría y la práctica, ¿no es cierto? Y entre lo que planificamos en un escritorio y lo que es la realidad concreta de los países.
Okay, thank you very much for the clear message. And before we disappear, save your round of applause for our panelists. Thank you very much for your input, for your knowledge, for sharing with us, and good luck with your hard work on fostering the project implementation and cooperation in an IWN project. Thank you very much.
Well, you see, we're trying to shorten the time between sessions so that we don't reach lunch in the next coffee break. Let's hope. So we're going into what we believe is a fundamental session because it does not only bring the depth and the width of the GEF International Waters portfolio in the region, but it also gives you the story and how this ripple effect is created. So starting from one region or starting from one project to the other. In this panel, I would like to welcome our speakers, Mr. Mark Lambridis, the Director of Department of Sustainable Development in OAS, Ms. Marisa Castro, General Director of Borders, International Waters from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Bolivia. Mr. Jorge Rux, I understand he does not need any further, now his role is an advisor, but he has been in international waters and groundwaters for decades. Ms. Ana Maria Núñez, the Regional Technical Advisor of UNDP. Ms. Maria Apostolova, Regional Project Coordinator of ACTO, and Mr. Alejandro Getosio, the Project Coordinator of UNDP, of the Humboldt Project. Please join me on stage so that we start this session. Thank you. From the first GEF International Waters project in the region, the Bermejo River Basin, to a current portfolio that includes the largest river basin in the world, the Amazon, to the Guarani Aquifer system that has the first agreement for transboundary waters under the law of transboundary aquifers, the world's largest wetlands, the Pantanal wetlands, the La Plata River Basin that drains 1/5 of the Latin American continent into the Atlantic Ocean, the Humboldt Project that strives for a healthy, productive, and resilient Humboldt Current, large marine ecosystem, and the Fred Plata project that focused on preventing and reducing land-based pollution into the La Plata and maritime front. What is the connection between these projects? How did this story start? With the support of UNEP and OAS, the GEF funded the first GEF International Waters project, a TDA sub-project in LAC, in the Bermejo Basin in 1997. For those of you that are good with figures, the GEF ID is 176, and now we are at 11-something. The Bermejo, a basin shared by Argentina and Bolivia, indeed contributes 75% of the sediment loads to the La Plata Basin. With us, Mr. Mark Lambridis, to bring some insights about the Bermejo project.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And to be clear, that actually is me in that picture, but that's from about 20 years ago, maybe 20 pounds lighter and a lot more dark hair. But I'm not sure where you found that picture, but I appreciate the contribution. But really, it is a great pleasure to be with you this morning. And quite frankly, I feel a little embarrassed talking about Bermejo sitting next to one of the great founders of this project and my former colleague from the Organization of American States, Jorge Rooks. But as the director of the Department of Sustainable Development, I'm pleased to talk to you real briefly about the importance of this project and telling stories, the connection for Bermejo to subsequent projects in the region. So the Bermejo Basin project for us, the OAS, really is the first for the OAS in Latin America and the Caribbean in the transboundary water project space, together with COBINAVE as executing agencies, a group of people, many of whom are here today, as I already mentioned, had the vision and the will to build a project that offers a collective approach to the shared waters where sustainable development, long-term stability, attention to the impacts of climate change, and cooperation are at its core. These people, like my friends and former colleague Jorge Rooks, but other partners like Isabel Vanderbeck, Al Duda, Andrea Marla, Marissa Castro, Andres Rodriguez, Edgardo Castellano, and Mish Ahmed, were truly visionary in this sense. And with the continuing support of the GEF, together with others of our partners, we've been able to make positive contributions to the sustainability of the Bermejo River Basin, and this project has further set an example for other transboundary projects in the region and the world. For nearly 30 years, the OAS and its partners have been executing the Bermejo project and sister basin projects, and with the bold commitments from Argentina and Bolivia, later complemented by the cooperation of 5 countries in La Plata River Basin, Argentina, Bolivia, Paraguay, Uruguay, and Brazil, our organizations came together for the creation of the Intergovernmental Cooperation Committee of the Plata Basin, or the CIC. The execution of both projects have led to global initiatives of more than $25 million for early international waters initiatives, and these investments were crucial as the Bermejo River is a vital water system and the development of the Plata River Basin, which further highlights the interconnected nature of these international transboundary water initiatives. Most recently, the Bermejo River Basin and its inhabitants have been experiencing the effects of drought, and CONAVE, together with our partners and our water program, have promoted the development of a new project phase under the GEF International Waters Focal Area, led by the Development Bank for Latin America and the Caribbean, or CAF, and we really appreciate our collaboration and support with CAF, co-executed by CONAVE and the OAS Water Program, and we look forward to continuing this work in this region. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mark. And the story continues. At the request of Brazil, after a fact-finding mission with UNEP and OAS, the GEF then decided to invest in the Pantanal as a wetland of global significance, but also the hydrological buffer, the water reservoir for La Plata Basin in the upper Paraguay Basin. Ms. Marisa Castro, please guide us through the Pantanal project.
Good morning, everyone. Yes, I am Marisa Castro, and that is not me on the picture. But on behalf of the countries that we integrate the upper basin part of the Paraguay River or the Pantanal region, it's an honor to share part of the goals that we have in this particular basin. Pantanal, in the upper part of the Paraguay River basin, is not just a hydrological system. It is also the largest tropical wetland in the world. It is the home of this important ecosystem or life system, as we recognize among the countries. We've been talking about the importance of this wetland, the importance of this basin since 2016, when Bolivia called the first trinational meeting to exchange about the importance and how the countries could have a common vision about this particular basin. In 2017, Brazil managed to finance a TDA and a SAP among one GEF project. And after, in March of 2018, the three countries, Paraguay, Brazil, and Bolivia, we shared the vision and we established what was the Declaration for the Conservation, Integral, and Sustainable Development of the Pantanal. This declaration was the commitment, a political commitment about a common vision for this particular and special basin. Since then, we had a couple of meetings more, a third and a fourth, and especially the fourth one in April 2019, was the result of constructing a project, a GEF project that now is on the first part for initiating. We are actually in the inception phase. And we are looking forward to start working with a common vision among the three countries, with the support of the agency, of course, to working on the sustainable development, integrated management of this important part of the La Plata Basin, because it is part, and it is important part too, because we are not talking just about the conservation or how the importance of the Pantanal region is for economical and social development of the population, but it also because it is the connection to the navigation in the hydro way, and so that is the importance that we share. So we are looking forward with the countries to start working in this project. We have a common vision now. And in a couple of years, of course, we are going to share with all of you the results of this project. Thank you.
Thank you, Marisa. Having worked successfully with the riparian states based on recommendations of the TDA SAP in those two basins, the GEF then thought that the time was ripe to expand the geographical scope of its intervention to La Plata Basin. The Plata Basin, encompassing the Paraguay-Paraná waterway transporting 13 million tons of goods annually, is the most economically developed basin in LAC, hosting 4 out of those 5 countries, their capital cities, where Argentina, Bolivia, Brazil, Paraguay, and Uruguay collaborate under the terms of La Plata Treaty of 1969, and through the Plata Commission, SIC. The population itself is more than 101 million. It is home to a rich biodiversity, highly regulated with Itaipu, Yacyretá, and Salto Grande dams, generating 92,000 megawatt, prone to floods and droughts, mining and agriculture pollution, and a cortege of negative impacts due to economic development. Marisa, please continue the story about La Plata.
Hello. So again, I have the honor to share with all of you on behalf of the 5 countries that we integrate the La Plata River Basin. The host share with you all the importance that we have for this particular basin. And something that you might want to know is that 5 countries, Argentina, Brazil, Bolivia, Paraguay, and Uruguay, we shared a common vision and a political commitment in 1969. We established a committee, and we are around the 300 and more number of the meeting. And we have the La Plata Treaty. The treaty basically is a commitment and establishes a strategic vision of the 5 countries for this basin, which is very important because it's the second largest waterway in the world. And for Mediterranean countries like Bolivia and Paraguay, it is also more than just the management of the water, but it also how are we going to preserve the quantity necessary for keeping the navigation in this basin. the GEF projects, the GEF were catalyzed the work in the La Plata Basin. Since 2010 to 2016, we work on the first stage of this project. We constructed a TDA, we constructed a SAP. We have a strategic plan, we call it Programa Marco. And basically, after this, we just finished around 2020 the construction of projects that we are planning to implement to be based on the SAP implementation. And now we are on the first steps of implementing a third phase of this project, which is going to be the implementation of the SAP with some priorities that we are established. We are on the construction of PPG, if I'm not mistaken, with the support of the agencies, like Mark mentioned it before. But what is important to share with you is that this project is going to catalyze many of the task ambitions that we have between the 5 countries for this large but very important basin. So also, we are looking forward to share with you in the future the results of this project. But something that I want to punctualize between this project, the Pantanal one, and also the Bermejo that Mark shared a couple of minutes ago, is that for us, one major challenge is to see how these 3 projects also can work together, like the results not be just individual ways, but can connect so we can have major results, but also the results be connected for the well-being of the populations, not only population, but also all living beings that are in the basin. So it's a good opportunity for me to share with all of you this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marisa. Marisa already mentioned that the La Plata TDA SAP developed with the support of UNEP and OAS that recommended to examine further the underlying Guarani aquifer to understand its recharge dynamics and the extent to which it was exploitable. With the support of the World Bank and OAS, the GEF invested in the Guarani TDA SAP. And with us, we have the honor to have Mr. Jorge Rux, who has been instrumental in bringing, not only the Guarani, he was behind the Guarani project, but he has been instrumental in managing transplantary aquifers and groundwaters, not only here, but also globally. Mr. Jorge Rux.
Thank you very much. I need to ask the permission to speak in Spanish, as there are many years that I'm working with the Spanish countries and I lost the details of the work that we will done in all the project. Si me perdonan, entonces, hablar en español. Yo primero que nada quisiera agradecer al GEF, a los organizadores de la reunión, el poder estar aquí, pero reconocer sobre todo el trabajo en todos estos años desde diferentes puntos en el cual me permitió llegar a conocer la familia del GEF y conocer cómo funciona el GEF en relación a las necesidades que tienen los estados y las poblaciones. Particularmente importante tener una historia y me satisfizo mucho ver al Duda, fundador del GEF en aguas internacionales, estando en este evento en continuidad. Y quiero agradecer también a las instituciones que me han contratado para trabajar en los proyectos, es decir, Organización de los Estados Americanos, a el Banco Mundial, actualmente la CAF, con la que estamos trabajando sobre el acuífero guaraní. Quiero remarcar esto porque creo que la historia la construyen los países, la historia se acumula y la historia genera fuerza para enfrentar los futuros. Y aquí tenemos justamente eso, la historia, el presente de todos ustedes, pero el presente también del trabajo que se está haciendo en los países, con las comunidades, para resolver problemas que muchas veces trascienden los problemas locales para hacer problemas nacionales o para hacer problemas y temas globales. Pero bueno, voy a entrar entonces al tema del acuífero guaraní. Creo que es un proyecto innovativo, el primer proyecto que se hizo financiado por el GEF sobre aguas subterráneas, y proyecto que tiene ya terminado un primer TDA, un primer SAP, es decir, un análisis diagnóstico transfronterizo y el plan estratégico de acción, y dio base a un proyecto de porte medio que se está ejecutando actualmente y que está a punto de terminar con el soporte de los países que poseen el acuífero, que son Argentina, Brasil, Paraguay y Uruguay. Aquí hay un aspecto que quizás sea importante. Aquí se ha presentado la Cuenca del Plata y estamos hablando del acuífero guaraní, que está en gran parte dentro de la Cuenca del Plata, pero que no coinciden exactamente y por lo tanto han tenido caminos de trabajo en paralelo que han enriquecido una visión de conjunto que tienen los países, visión de conjunto que aportan los proyectos, pero que es un resultado para los países. ¿Y cuál fue el gran desafío que se planteó en este momento la ejecución del proyecto con el liderazgo de CAF como agencia de implementación y de UNESCO como agencia ejecutora del proyecto? Los países se plantearon el desafío de actualizar en 3 temas fundamentales el plan estratégico de acción que se había desarrollado originalmente para el acuífero guaraní. Y estos 3 temas que se profundizan son el tema del enfoque de género, fundamental para asegurar una participación de la mujer, una participación equitativa también de los jóvenes en los procesos que se enfocan. Por otro lado, el proyecto se plantea como desafío el actualizar los aspectos vinculados a los servicios ecosistémicos que brindan las aguas subterráneas a todo el sistema del acuífero guaraní y que brindan las aguas subterráneas a los estados que lo poseen. Es muy importante que la definición original del proyecto que hacen los países es reconocer que los países trabajan bajo soberanía de cada uno de los países que tienen el acuífero. Por lo tanto, el respeto a la voluntad de los países es un principio fundamental que aporta al proyecto, a la experiencia de los proyectos GEF. El otro aspecto importante es el monitoreo, el conocimiento del acuífero. Evidentemente todos saben que no se gestiona lo que no se conoce. Si no se conoce, no hay gestión. Pero también, si no se conoce, no hay negociación. La negociación es parte del proceso del conocimiento en donde los países llegan a comprender con toda su institucionalidad la dimensión del proceso que están enfrentando. Y ahí, una vez que se ha profundizado en el conocimiento, los países tienen elementos para negociar y saben hasta dónde negociar. Y eso es lo que se ha logrado también con el proyecto. Es decir, desarrollar el conocimiento en términos generales conociendo cómo funciona el modelo teórico del acuífero guaraní en su conjunto, que no es un acuífero único, sino que es un sistema y que se involucró a todo el sector académico de los países en la definición de este cuerpo, de este recurso. Ese aspecto del conocimiento general inicial fue el que enriqueció el primer proyecto. El primer proyecto tuvo el esfuerzo y el enfoque hacia el desarrollo del conocimiento del acuífero. Pero el segundo proyecto, el proyecto que se ejecuta actualmente, está bajando a las particularidades de lo local, de lo que es específico, de lo que son los temas y los objetivos específicos a lograr en el territorio con las comunidades, y en ese sentido involucra a toda la población interesada, a las instituciones que están vinculadas al tema de las aguas subterráneas y a la responsabilidad de su gestión, vincula, en el caso de este proyecto, a las comunidades indígenas ancestrales que han participado y que han llegado a definir requerimientos que estaban olvidados y que de alguna forma el proyecto se los reconoce. Es decir, desarrolla a las comunidades. Creo que esto es lo sustantivo del proyecto, es decir, un proyecto que a través del conocimiento reconoce un sistema, incorpora a la gente y llega nuevamente a brindar las soluciones a los interesados. Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much, Mr. Roops. A longer intervention, but very much well worth it to understand the importance of the Guarani Aquifer system in transboundary cooperation. And you can get to find more about it both within the sessions, but also there's a booth dedicated to the Guarani Aquifer system in the exhibition area. We continue our journey in Latin America. So with the UNDP support, we have already seen, we have already gone through from Bermejo to Pantanal to La Plata and then the Guarani. So with the UNDP support and complementing the work done in the Plata Basin, the GEF looked at the maritime front of this huge basin for reducing and preventing land-based pollution, and developed another TDA sub-project through the FRE Plata projects. And with us, Ms. Ana Maria Núñez from UNDP to guide us through.
Thank you, Constantina. Thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to present the two projects that we had at UNDP between Argentina and Uruguay, as you can see in the map. It covers, as was said, the last part of the river basin and starting the ocean side. So what we did with the foundational project, as you know, we applied the TDA SAP methodology, and the SAP was prepared, and also the TDA, with the main stakeholders, let's say Navy, academia, fisheries authorities, environmental authorities of both countries. And it was very interesting because at the end, the SAP was endorsed by the majority of them in 2008. And based on that, we were able to request a next phase through the GEF for implementing part of this SAP. And as you can see on the screen, the main results of the second phase are related to the implementation of the most of the activities included in the SAP, but also the binational monitoring program and the integrated binational information system. These included different type of indicators in order to provide information to decision makers, to planning processes and so on. So it was a very useful program and also system that is also being used so far. What else? We were also prepared an effective mechanism, institutional framework for the implementation of the SAP. And also it was very important that the 78% of the stakeholders that were involved in the SAP endorsement were also involved in the implementation. And a part of all, all the processes being done the SAP implementation and the mechanism to back in all the activities in the SAP, we implemented 3 pilot interventions for reducing the pollution, which is the inland pollution, which was the main focus for this project. These 3 pilots were centralized in reducing the pollutants to the river and also to the maritime front, including artificial wetland techniques to reduce wastewater nutrients discharge in the San Borondon Bay. Also, good agricultural practices to reduce pollution at wetlands in Santa Lucia River. And finally, cleaner production to reduce chromium discharges from tanning industry. I don't have any more time, but I just want to share with you that as part of this process, extra international cooperation was also catalyzed, and it was prepared with this cooperation, the implementation of an hydrodynamic and sedimentological model for the Rio La Plata, which is and was essential for continuing the monitoring and also for having more data for decision makers. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ana Maria. Did you know that the Plata and Amazon basins have a climatic relationship? The Amazon atmospheric floating river transports moisture through the evapotranspiration from the Amazon rainforest to the La Plata basin, contributing to the precipitation in the La Plata basin, especially during the wet season. These 2 river basins are connected weather-wise through ENSO phases of the El Niño and La Niña. Therefore, it was about time that GEF moved to the Amazon. After trying to understand the dynamics of the entire La Plata basin, including its aquifer and the coastal zones in 5 TDAs, and having promoted transboundary cooperation and management through 5 SAPs, the GEF expanded its scope to the Amazon basin, the lung of the planet, impacting regional and global climate and hydrological cycle, covering more than 6 million square kilometers, home to the largest tropical forest, the most mega-diverse region in the world with 40,000 plant species identified, 20% of all liquid fresh water discharged into the oceans coming from the Amazon, 420 indigenous peoples, more than 370 languages, and 66 confirmed references of non-contacted indigenous peoples. With us, to guide us through this Amazon trip that is supported by the GEF is Ms. Edith Paredes from ACTO. Please, over to you.
Thank you very much. And thank you for the opportunity to share with you our experience and what we're doing with the Integrated Water Resources Management at ACTO. It's the Amazonian Cooperation Treaty Organization, and it comprises 8 member countries: Bolivia, Brazil, Ecuador, Colombia, Guyana, Suriname, and Venezuela. We have been working as a treaty of cooperation since 1978, but we have been experiencing some changes, and I think the integrated water management is one of the biggest milestones at ACTO, since we have a common shared vision to work these resources as a regional multilateral organization, and the only one that has the mandate with the socio-economic and environmental mandate at the highest level, with the political will, political engagement from the presidents of the 8 member countries, and as well for the ministers of foreign affairs. And as it was said before in the prior speech and today, for these programs to be successful, it's very important to have this political willness and engagement. So with this shared vision and strong TDA and SAP and this political willness at the presidential and the ministers of foreign affairs to strengthen and to complement the water resources management at the region, ACTO has been implementing these two These two, TDA and SAP, and is very engaged with a regional vision about this water management, and this strengthens the region, the Amazon region, that, as it was said, it has a crucial role in the project life cycle, not only for the Amazon region, not only for South America and the Latin American region, but for the world. With the support of UNEP and GEF, GEF's financial support, ACTO and its member countries are advancing with the implementation of its first regional common strategy for water management in the Amazon. We have achieved a crucial milestone past April with the 8 member countries, and it has been established the authorities, the national network of water authorities at the Amazon region. It's ANWA, no? And it's the Amazon Network for Water Authorities. And I think, and we at ACTO think that this achievement supports a lot the president's mandate, but as well it puts the region at a very high level of engagement and responsibility to work this topic. And it aims to enhance cooperation and mutual support in the management of transboundary water resources across the Amazon region. This political will, shared visions, engagement, responsibilities, and deep passion drives each one of us here in this room, and are very essential to our collective work with the integrated water resources management. There's a lot of things to be done. I think we have the regional, the Amazon Regional Observatory, with a lot of what's going on in the region, not only with water resources management, because at the ministerial resolutions and at the Belém Declaration, that it's a declaration that was signed last year by the 8 presidents or delegates from the countries. We have a wide, broad topics that we have to work at ACTO, and we have cross-cutting topics that are related to the water management resources. And gender, for example, the inclusion of social organizations, of indigenous communities, of local communities, things that are related to forest management, to deforestation, we have a wide range of topics that are related to this. Since we have the mandate, we are moving forward with the countries to work on each of them, with delegates from each of the countries to work on either this network for water management or for all the other topics that we have the mandate within the Belém resolution. The path ahead that the Amazon region has still a lot to be done, and it could be long, but I think that we have to move together, and there's still needed significant work and progress with the fresh water as well as with the aquifers management at the region. Especially because, as I said before, the Amazon, the role that this region has at the global agenda and with the life cycle of the planet should never be forgotten. Thank you.
Very rightly. Thank you for reminding us, Edith. Continuing our journey, GEF investments would not be complete if one hadn't looked at improving the transboundary ecosystem-based management of the Humboldt Current, with the support of UNDP, in which also the TDA sub at LME level was prepared, providing special emphasis to the management of share stock of target fisheries. Mr. Esteban Delgado will guide us through.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. No? Thanks a lot for the organizing, for the opportunity to share some ideas and learning about this project. No? I'll speak in English. I'll speak in Spanish for more clarity, and because we have a screen that says time's up, hurry up. ¿No? Ok, compartiré algunas ideas. En la pantalla podrán ver ustedes algunos de los logros que este proyecto ha tenido durante su periodo de ejecución, ¿no? Pero me gustaría concentrarme sobre algunos de los desafíos principales que hemos obtenido como aprendizajes en este tiempo. Algunos de ellos son compartidos, ya se han enunciado, por lo que iré muy rápidamente. El primer gran desafío para un proyecto de la envergadura del proyecto Humboldt, ¿no? Que pretende como principal meta conseguir acuerdos compartidos de manejo de una de las mayores pesquerías del planeta en dos de los países con una intensa actividad pesquera, evidentemente son muy altos y están relacionados principalmente con conseguir esos acuerdos políticos de manejo compartido de un recurso de alto interés, de alto impacto y de alta sensibilidad socioecológica y política en ambos países, ¿no? En ese sentido, el desafío más grande es ir más allá, ¿ya?, de los límites transfronterizos en materia ecológica, ¿no? Enfrentamos múltiples tipos de límites transfronterizos. Ya tenemos límites que son, o bordes que son de carácter político, pero también de carácter cultural, también de carácter ecológico, y se requiere una gestión que opera, ya como decía hace un momento atrás Miguel Stutzen, también el punto focal del GEF de Chile, diseñar proyectos que sean situados, ¿ya?, territorialmente, ¿ya?, pero que también abracen la complejidad de la multiescalaridad en la cual operan. Proyectos que están operando en escalas políticas de carácter regional, de carácter nacional, de carácter local, de carácter subnacional, pero que además están altamente influenciados por dinámicas que son globales, ¿ya? Hoy día se requiere efectivamente el diseño de proyectos que tengan la capacidad de abrazar la complejidad e integrar la complejidad en el ámbito de los ciclos políticos en sus distintos niveles, los ciclos económicos, los ciclos sociales, los ciclos gerenciales, ¿ya?, y los propios ciclos de las comunidades. Entonces hay una alta demanda por un manejo adaptativo, ¿ya? Y lo que nos mencionaba Miguel en ese sentido creo que es crucial, digamos, ¿no? Los proyectos que nosotros lideramos, que nosotros diseñamos, que nosotros ejecutamos, deben tener una capacidad de adaptación a estos escenarios de alta complejidad. Creo que ese es un mensaje muy importante. Lo segundo, abrazar esa complejidad implica producir información que sea de alta utilidad tanto por razones socioecológicas como por razones políticas, ¿ya? Información que debe permitir a los tomadores de decisiones en el ámbito político tomar esas mejores decisiones, entender la complejidad de los problemas que se están tratando y desde esa posición, desde ese conocimiento, tomar las mejores decisiones para cada uno de sus de los proyectos y para cada uno de los pueblos que están asociados, ¿no? Lo tercero, digamos, ¿no?, asegurar la sustentabilidad de las decisiones políticas, ¿ya?, y de las medidas de gestión en el ámbito socioecológico. Eso es fundamental, digamos, ¿no? No solamente se trata, ¿ya?, de realizar inversiones puntuales, sino que de asegurar la sustentabilidad de esas inversiones puntuales en el tiempo. Creo que ese es un desafío también muy importante para todos los proyectos, ¿ya? Y en último punto, quisiera también, y creo que este es un aprendizaje muy importante del proyecto Humboldt, sobre el cual los invito también, tenemos un stand afuera en el hall, a visitar ese lugar, avanzar, ¿ya?, de manera decidida, de manera relevante, de manera profunda, de manera coherente y sustentable en la inclusión de la perspectiva de género en cada uno de nuestros proyectos. Creo que ese es un aprendizaje muy importante del proyecto Humboldt. Tenemos muchas lecciones que podemos compartir en esa materia, ¿ya? La pesca, particularmente ustedes saben, es una actividad altamente manejada por hombres, ¿ya? en cuyo quehacer el rol de los hombres es primordial, ¿ya? Pero también en cuyo quehacer el rol de las mujeres es primordial y ha estado usualmente en un segundo plano, escondido, invisibilizado, ¿no? Entonces hay muchas actividades asociadas a la pesca en donde las mujeres juegan un rol central, ¿ya? Y que por múltiples razones ha quedado muy descuidado. Creo que ese es un aspecto donde todos los proyectos, particularmente el que nosotros lideramos, debieran avanzar muy decididamente. Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much, Esteban, especially for stressing the importance of gender mainstreaming. We're concluding this journey in Latin America and the GEF International Waters portfolio with what is currently happening, and this is currently with the support of CAF. The Plata, Bermejo, and Guarani countries are getting access to blended financing with GEF resources to support the implementation of their subs. While 3 riparian countries to the Pantanal, Bolivia, Brazil, and Paraguay are now collaborating with the support of IDB and UNEP with a view to develop a trinational cooperation mechanism, advancing further the understanding of the traditional wetland system through a TDA and promoting its joint management through SAP. And of course, there are more efforts that have not been brought here, like the FAO efforts on Laguna Marine and the coastal aquifers of special environmental importance. And we hope to see that in the next conference we'll have a much bigger and growing portfolio. We hope this has been an inspiring journey to see, how not only waters are not only connected hydrologically, but there is also a ripple effect that is being created through the GEF investments. Thank you very much. A big thanks to our panelists. I hope you have already downloaded your application. You are already connecting with the rest of the attendees. All updates, everything that is happening for this conference, including that we're starting we're going to have a late lunch. But we're going to give you enough time to enjoy it. Everything goes through the application. Also, please go into your personal profile. There you will have an indication that is called, you will have your own personal QR code, which is your badge, and you will need this to check into all the sessions that are taking place from afternoon onwards. It will help the session organizers understand who was in their audience, and they will be able to follow up directly with you as agreed. And I have a question for this amazing audience that is staying put after all these hours. Who in this audience doesn't know who Miss Hamid is? Please raise your hands. Okay. So, no introductions. Miss, please come on stage.
I think I'll just stand here. So, good afternoon, everybody. I'm in the unfortunate position of being between you and lunch, which is never a good place to be. Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished delegates, colleagues, and friends, it's an honor to stand before you again to speak about the glue that holds together this focal area, namely the GEF IW Learn project. For 2 decades, I had the privilege of leading, shaping, and supporting this innovative project. And today, I'm here to share its journey and what it means for all of you as the portfolio. For those of you who are new, IW Learn is the GEF's International Waters Learning Exchange and Resource Network, a project, but more accurately, a living process. IW Learn fosters knowledge sharing, shares best practices, and provides solutions to complex water management and ocean government challenges. I'm also very pleased to meet an entirely new generation of this ever-growing IW family. I use the word family, and you've heard it a lot today, but I think you're going to discover over the course of this week that the IW family is quite special among the focal area, and indeed in the broader development community. But let's take a moment to understand how we got here. The first IW projects were born in 1991 in places like the Danube, Black Sea, Lake Tanganyika, the Gulf of Guinea, East Asian Seas, Red Sea, and the Caribbean. By 1997, there were 36 IW projects, but they were isolated and they did not learn from each other's formative successes and challenges. IW didn't have a regular mechanism to promote exchange of experience or strategic planning, as one finds through a meeting of the parties or convention secretariat. While peer-to-peer technical learning and assistance and South-South learning were praised, there were no practical mechanisms to make it real. IW architects like Al Duda and other visionaries in the original implementing agencies made the case that the ever-growing IW portfolio had significant information and experiences that, if shared, could improve results for future projects and build global capacity. The pilot phase document said it all. The GEF project's portfolio encompasses a vast but egregiously underutilized wealth of institutional and human experience. And despite this overall wealth, in effect, the fruit is grown, but it's rarely harvested. We speak about foresight processes, but just take a moment to realize how forward-leaning that was. In the 1990s, nobody was talking about knowledge management, and yet these visionaries took on the challenge and got IW Learn funded. Collectively, they had conceived of an IW Learn that would be a central nervous system for this portfolio. Well, we've been harvesting these fruits for almost 25 years now. We call these fruits results now, but the principle is that each new generation can replicate previous results, and these results can be communicated to beneficiaries, to policymakers, and of course, to donors. GEF IW Learn began in 1997 as an experimental pilot. It began a tradition of testing approaches, including a master's program, and pioneered adult distance learning, and 24 years ago, organized the first IWC. Recognizing the digital divide that still partially exists, the initial versions of our website were handed out to the portfolio on CD-ROM. By 2004, the second, or operational phase, took the successful approaches and consolidated them into activities, including face-to-face capacity building and training, like the IWC, regional workshops on cross-cutting topics. We developed and launched targeted twinning exchanges where you, as project managers, can gain experience on topics like mariculture or payment for ecosystem services directly from more experienced IW projects and partners. We also supported global dialogue participation, enabling projects to build partnerships at forums with audiences beyond the GEF, like the UN Ocean Conference or World Water Forum. We rolled out enhanced data information management tools, the project database with contacts, outputs, and news. We launched a results tracker, a visualization tool, spatial data repositories, a website toolkit where IW Learn can host project websites. Social media platforms were added to help reach younger and older generations. We developed programmatic guidance toolkits, manuals, methodologies, and training courses in areas like project management, TDA SAP, economic valuation, public participation, LME, freshwater security, and much more. We embarked on transforming knowledge through experience notes and results notes. And in 2011, we launched the third phase, expanding and building partnerships to help address specific portfolio needs. By 2016, IW Learn truly became the glue of this portfolio. Recognized as a global knowledge hub by the GEF Independent Evaluation Office, we brought in multilateral organizations, NGOs, and also the private sector as full partners. We maintained daily contact with project managers, ensuring that they had direct access to the support they needed. Additionally, every project manager got a welcome package when they joined. And by the fifth phase, we had under our belts 2 decades of accumulated experience, ensuring a well-founded and strategic approach. And you're going to hear more about this fifth phase from Konstantina in a moment. But it's not only about the history of the project. IW Learn's growth has evolved in tandem with the rest of the portfolio. Over the last 30 years, the portfolio has delivered transformative impacts through multilateral agreements and basin organizations like the Ballast Water Convention, Pacific Tuna Treaty, Guarani Aquifer Agreement, you've heard it all this morning. GEF has strengthened regional and global cooperation. More than 30 SAPs have been implemented, resulting in real country commitments to pollution control, habitat conservation, and sustainable fisheries. These commitments have paved the way for transformative investments, significant environmental stress reduction, and GEF IW has supported the creation of over 350 MPAs in the Coral Triangle, for example, and 40% of the coastline of East Asian seas is now under ICM plans. While IW Learn is not behind every achievement, it has played a role in empowering many of these projects. The Benguela Current, LME, established the first transboundary LME Commission and Convention. During IW Learn's pilot phase, we initiated a grassroots coordination tool called D-List, which fostered community-level knowledge sharing along the LME. It significantly contributed to building stakeholder ownership of the LME, supporting eventual agreement at the cabinet level. In the Black Sea Danube region, GEF investments have led to drastic reductions in stress in nitrogen and phosphorus, 20%, 50% respectively. IW Learn supported these projects by organizing regional nutrient pollution reduction conferences, maintaining a best practice database, and facilitating twinning exchanges, allowing projects to replicate solutions like biogas digesters, constructive wetlands, manure management platforms. Some of you in the audience remember smelling that. In the Pacific IWM Reach to Reef projects, we helped connect stakeholders through training workshops, supported twinning exchanges, and provided models to share and visualize results between its participating countries, helping to improve ecosystems and community livelihoods across those islands. In the Drin River Basin and the Dinara-Karst Transboundary Aquifer System, IW Learn worked with key partners to support regional dialogue. Regional dialogue processes helped to catalyze new legal agreements in Southeastern Europe and created enabling conditions for future GEF project and country-endorsed SAPs. Lastly, in the Caribbean Sea region, with its incredible 35 riparian states and territories and several GEF projects, have achieved significant progress in pollution reduction and SAP implementation and a landmark interim coordination mechanism. IW Learn supported the land, wastewater, and marine projects in the region by hosting websites, facilitating targeted training, supporting a unique multifocal area coordination mechanism, and recently we helped secure a grant from the next project phase of CLME Plus from the European Space Agency. But don't take my word for it, just talk to each other. There are many projects managers here who have been around for a while, so talk to Patrick, Laverne, Dimitris, Handoko. But ladies and gentlemen, I'm only a project manager, just like many of you, often forced to spend a lot of time on administrative tasks instead of the programmatic work that actually drives us. I know the last thing you want is another email asking for more documents, more reports, questionnaires, surveys, and meetings. But please allow me to tell you a secret. That's exactly why IW Learn was created, to support you. IW Learn's tools are designed to save you time and even money by offering training and templates and access to a network of colleagues who have faced similar challenges. Whether it's writing terms of reference, setting up demonstration sites, revising TDAs, chances are pretty good that one of your colleagues has done it before you, and IW Learn can connect you to this portfolio and its knowledge. So let me close by saying the value of this project is that we've ultimately centralized knowledge management across the portfolio in archiving and ensuring that lessons are accessible. We've enhanced project implementation by introducing new approaches like economic valuation, mainstreaming climate change. We fostered collaboration by helping projects and agencies out of silos to work together in the same ecosystems or from source to sea, such as in the Orange Sanku and Benguela Current or the Caribbean and the Amazon. We built a global network of practitioners, moving from a few participants in the 90s to, by 2022 at least, over 2,700 IW stakeholders from 215 projects had participated in various IW Learn activities, fostering a culture of learning, collaboration, and systematic replication of successful practices. We mobilized innovative finance, and we established a GEF IW corporate identity or a brand, if you like, for this focal area. These outcomes didn't happen by accident. They are the result of deliberate efforts to make your work more efficient, collaborative, and impactful. And as the custodian of IW Learn for a while, and the portfolio's knowledge for 2 decades, I look back with great joy at what this family has achieved. But this captivating story is far from over. To the new projects in the room, it's now your turn. It's your turn to write the next chapters in the great book of international waters. I'm really grateful for all the incredible people I got the chance to work with, and I'm really proud to be part of this family. And I believe after this week, you will be as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you. So my job is easy or not, because I have to continue the work and the legacy of Mish in IW Learn. I'm not alone, thankfully. I have a great team with me. I think most of you have met them. You know Claudette, you know Malek, and a number of other people that are kindly supporting us. But from the history, 24 years ago when IW Learn started as a pilot project, what is it new? What does the new phase bring, and what are the changes of IW Learn 5, the current phase that we are in? So, first of all, We remain apparently in the lines of work that IWLN has established, and we do have some distinct lines of work that are moving forward, like the ones that you have already seen. We have a line of work on seeds, supporting seeds that goes beyond international waters. And some of you have already been part of this first seeds consultation in the pre-conference workshop that we had over the weekend at CAF. And we have another distinct line, which is supporting the portfolio in securing and financing into sustainable financing of the projects. This is a big ask for the whole portfolio. Everyone is asking, what comes next, or how can I support my sub-projects? I don't have slides. I don't know what's happening, but it's fine. I'm going to be very brief about it. Thank you. We see the interest. We launched a survey almost a year ago to the portfolio, both to the projects and the agencies. We got all the learnings, we got all the comments from you, from the whole portfolio, both executing agencies and implementing agencies. And we're trying to integrate all those into, first of all, a new service line that does not abolish anything of the great things that you have established, but eventually is creating a more clear line of work. So we're moving forward with 3 key pillars. One being knowledge management and communication, which is the heart and the core service of IWLearn. Capacity development, this is another core line of work. This is mostly about repackaging and having more clear lines of work and not eventually doing something different from what IWLearn used to do. And of course, we have networking and partnership building. So you will see now in the new website that we are currently working on, unfortunately, we couldn't have it ready for this conference, but we're already working on this. You will see a more clear structure about what we're offering, more emphasis on capacity development. We saw the need. I think it was the first time, Mish, that we had 200 people each day in the trainings. We had the pre-conference trainings. So this shows that there is a need from the portfolio, and we're taking this message at IWLearn, and we're going to bring it forward. We already have the commitment of the banks, so I'm putting you, I'm taking your commitment, I'm bringing this to the whole audience, that the 4 MDBs already, after the success of the workshop that we had yesterday of sustainable financing, we're going to continue this line of work. But this is not the only line of work. We're going to continue with thematic trainings, regional trainings, and of course, all the activities that you know and have already been successful. We will be introducing some new features because if you manage to capture some of the figures that Mish brought into what IWLearn has done so far, the figures are really huge. We're talking about thousands of documents, important documents. Some were hidden, there's some important information or some lesson that maybe you would like to take up. So we will be integrating artificial intelligence, and this will help us eventually leverage this knowledge that has been eventually. We curated this knowledge at IWLearn. It was curated. The knowledge is being brought by you. You're on the ground. You're doing the work, and you're just bringing your lessons and you're sharing them with the community. What we're doing is we're trying to facilitate this process in the best possible way. So one of our new features will be artificial intelligence, trying to help you, go through all these databases and information for an easier search, and most importantly, in order to have access to these lessons. But of course, I hope GEF is here, second line. I hope you will, this type of events, the face-to-face events, will continue with the IWCs and all other events that we have planned in our phase. And moving on to the next one, I'm just going to summarize, and I would like to bring one new feature that we have. Do we have the next slide, please? I cannot put, we were discussing with Miss while preparing for this session, we said, what is the key message for you? Is that IW Learn is a service for you. It is important that you engage with IW Learn because IW Learn brings you access to all these resources, best practices, tools, thematic hubs, everything that can be eventually useful to your project. It brings you this opportunity to reach out to this global network. I think especially for the newcomers, you see the dynamics and you will see throughout these days that you start connecting from aquifer to aquifer, no matter where, what your geography is, or an LME to another LME, and expert to expert, peer to peer. Of course, as I said, one of our key services is and will remain our focus, very much capacity building. And of course, we are here to improve so that you communicate your impact better. And of course, you learn from each other and you can improve your work and eventually the impact of your work on the ground. So please, keep engaged with us. We're doing, yes, Miss is not there, but we're still there. There's a new team. And for those of you that have not engaged, you know our resources. And we put the IW Learn booth centrally this time just to show, how important IW Learn is, that it is the core service and a unique service. There's no other Learn type of service in any other focal area of the GEF. And with that, and before I leave you, I would like to introduce and launch our new tool, which is a visualization tool. And then you will say, come on, these guys did that before us. Yes, of course they did, very successfully, and it is on our website. But what we wanted to bring in is the story. What is the real story behind these projects? And this was about what this opening today was. We want to bring the stories of how the projects were developed. What did they achieve? What was the impact? So I will leave you to our new tool. It is the IW story map. Once you find out what our stories are, we have the first 30 stories. So we have 30 for 30 years of IW. And then we will only show you 2 of our stories that are being featured in this tool. But please, we would welcome you in our booth, and then you can play with the new tool that will also soon be available on our website. So I will leave you with the tool and our colleagues driving you through this. Thank you very much. So our colleagues selected 2 of our stories. You will see there we have 30 stories. So they selected ATSI as one of the stories to be presented here today, almost night. You will see how the story is featured. So we have an overview, the objectives, the key issues, of course the facts. We would never leave the facts out. And you have a lot of resources to find out, what happened with this project in a storytelling manner. Can we get a quick, Fernanda, are we playing a video or not? People are too hungry. Okay. Yes. And then let's go through the next story. There's a video.
From the smallest cells to the furthest corners of the universe, water connects us all. 60% of the Earth's fresh water and 66 large marine ecosystems are shared among countries, and the ocean is our common resource. They support global communities, ecosystems, and economies. Join us on the journey of the Global Environment Facility's international waters, celebrating over 30 years of supporting transboundary cooperation in shared marine and freshwater ecosystems. Since its inception, the GEF has funded over 500 international water projects in more than 170 countries. IW Learn is the learning exchange and resource network for the GEF's International Waters portfolio. It catalyzes knowledge sharing, capacity building, networking, and partnership building. Explore GEF International Waters' transformative stories through our interactive globe and delve into our projects. Your journey into the world of GEF International Waters begins here.
You want to play the Amazon? Yes, sorry, we cannot leave if we don't feature the Amazon. So you see the stories of the people there, what happened, what was the impact? This is how we summarize the impact. And then you can get into the real story behind it, what was the overview, what were the objectives of each project, and what the key issues, the impact on resources, on the environment, socioeconomic impact, etc. You'll get lots of facts, but also you get the galleries and very impressive videos that bring the stories of the people, because this is what our message should be. International waters is about the impact that we bring to ecosystems, freshwater and marine ecosystems, and the people who live in these, the people that are affected by these. And with that, I will just leave you for now. We're concluding this kickoff session. It has been a pleasure to have you all here with us. Please go and enjoy your lunch. It will be just, you'll just go through the exhibition area, and the Monte Carlo room is the restaurant. We will be resuming at, we said, 2:15. Please check your agendas, because we're going into the breakout sessions, so we'll start with interactive sessions. And then the next slot will be the workshops. Everything is in your agendas in the app. And one more piece of information for those that didn't get their vouchers because they registered late for the technical site visits. There are some new openings for people that didn't show up, so go grab your seat. Thank you very much. Enjoy your lunch.